Chapter 2683. Huang Fuju, Eternal Night Heavenly Highness Huang Yun, Heavenly Highness Lu Fang, and the others retreated to the other side of the mountain when they saw Qin Nan and the others fighting against Song and Yi Zhaoxian. They had no intention of taking part in the battle. Cultivator Eternal Night, Cultivator Huang Yun, let's begin, Heavenly Highness Lu Fang said with a smile when he sensed the 6 monarch god sources. Got it. Eternal Night Heavenly Highness Huang Yun, and the others nodded. They immediately executed the arts of Tao seeking in their bodies and attacked the others. A series of explosions immediately took place. If they wanted to achieve the Supreme Highness realm, they had to wait until the channeling mechanism appeared. They had to break through their limits and attract the channeling mechanism. Therefore, they could not afford to stop. They had to keep fighting to unleash their full potential. As such, they had agreed to spar with one another before they reached the mountain. They would not kill one another. After all, they would not take part in the battle between Qin Nan and the others before the situation was clear. As a result, 2 battlefields appeared on the mountain peak. One was extremely intense, but there were still traces of life. The other was incomparably terrifying, and killing intent surged everywhere. Bang bang bang! Song and Yi Zhaoxian's sword moves and combat arts all shattered under the blows of the treasures. In addition to it, the tables had turned too. Qin Nan and the others began to counterattack. Song and Yi Zhaoxian kept backing away and defending themselves passively. Yi Zhaoxian was even tricked by the celestial tree. She accidentally took a blow from a godly tree. A huge wound appeared on her chest with fresh blood pouring out. Meridian Sword. The heaven-reaching Tao tree suddenly slapped the ground and summoned a rusty, ancient sword out of thin air. Qin Nan could see 7 strange runes on the sword. A faintly discernible aura radiated from the sword. It was slightly stronger than the Myriad Treasure Umbrella and the Tao Annihilation Spear. It was not much different from the Celestial Light Mirror. 10,000 Tree Extermination Art. The celestial tree bellowed out. Countless translucent green branches appeared from his back. Every single one of them extended into the Meridian Sword. They actually began to emit strands of sword chi from the sword, giving off a tremendous sword intent. Swish! Swish! The countless branches continued to move, carrying with them strands of sword intent. Like a downpour, they enveloped Song and Yi Zhaoxian. The 2 of them couldn't dodge at all. They could only choose to face it head-on. Therefore, Song decisively shot out the 33 Celestial Emperor Pearls, which transformed into a diagram of the Celestial Emperor that unfurled above them. Yi Zhaoxian had also drawn upon the power of spacetime to create the spacetime brush and draw the spacetime tide. Princess Miao Miao and the other 2 women, Mingqiu Progenitor and Ling Wang Progenitor, did not stop there. They continued to activate the 3 artifacts to unleash shocking attack. Qin Nan, I didn't expect you to have so many helpers. Fang Ruyu was overjoyed. He tried even harder to unleash the power of the ancient lamp. Qin Nan did not say a word. He soared into the sky as different intents gathered in his body and entered the heaven-shattering saber in his hand. In the nick of time, Qin Nan slashed forward. The voices of deities echoed in the rift. Song and Yi Zhaoxian's pupils shrank. With a thought, they summoned 2 treasures, a bamboo fan and an incomplete book. Sky-devouring fan. Chaoga Heavenly Book. The 2 artifacts emitted a blinding immortal glow under Song and Yi Zhaoxian's control. Bang! A shocking amount of energy surged out in all directions. Eternal Night Heaven Highness, Lu Fang Heaven Highness, and the rest of the Heaven Highnesses inhaled deeply. Even though they were not involved in the battle, they could sense the shocking energy wave. TSK, what an intense battle! This Song and Yi Zhaoxian must have something up their sleeves, right? Otherwise, how are they going to get rid of Qin Nan? Seriously, hurry up and use your trump cards instead of wasting time here. Huang Fu-ju murmured in his heart as he observed the battle while fending off the Heaven Highnesses. Yi Zhaoxian uttered in a loud, icy voice as if she was responding to Huang Fu-ju, "Great sacred clear sky art." Inside his body, a brand new cultivation technique was activated, causing 7 rings of holy light to shine behind him. Within each ring of holy light, there seemed to be a holy kingdom, where countless saints resided. His aura changed completely. He became more ethereal and dignified. He was like a saint who ruled over the world. Every living thing in the world was willing to submit to him and love him wholeheartedly. I have to use them so soon. Sung's eyes flashed. He had 2 new martial arts in his body. Immortal Emperor Advent Art? Emperor Movement Art? Although these 2 martial arts were completely different, they were closely related to the Immortal Emperor. Therefore, when they were activated, they did not repel each other. Instead, they resonated and merged with each other. In an instant, Song seemed to have been reborn. Every inch of his body, even the clothes he wore, exuded a strong emperor will. It made people feel as if they had transcended the great Tao, and their might shook the world. Qin Nan narrowed his eyes. At this moment, the pressure Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian exerted on him increased. Tsang, in particular, made Qin Nan feel like the sword in his hand could slash through his flesh at any second. Is this the martial art the Donghuang Great Void Chain taught you? Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2684. Tsang smiled faintly and said, "That's right. This is an emperor-level cultivation technique. There's a widely circulated saying in all the realms that only those who cultivate the emperor-level cultivation technique have the chance to become kings and emperors. Otherwise, everything is just empty talk. Qin Nan, you once deliberately ridiculed me and fellow Taoist Yi as running dogs. You're wrong. I just chose the general trend with fellow Taoist Yi. Now, this is the benefit of choosing the general trend. Unfortunately, you chose the wrong general trend. Anyone who goes against the trend will only end up one way. That is death." When the last word fell, Yi Zhaoxian took the lead to attack. With a point of his finger, streaks of dazzling golden light burst out from his fingertip and rushed toward Qin Nan, Celestial Tree, Ancestor Mingqiu, and the others. The expressions of Celestial Tree, Ancestor Mingqiu, and the others suddenly changed. This move was at least several times more powerful than the previous move. It actually brought about an enormous amount of pressure to each and every one of them. The 7 supreme treasures taught Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian not only the emperor-level cultivation technique. If they only had the cultivation technique but not the moves, they wouldn't be able to display its power at all, so they naturally taught them many emperor-level spells. This move was the emperor-level spell, the Great Holy Light Technique? Heaven Covering Hand. Tsang also made a move. Mysterious runes appeared on his right arm and connected with each other to form a mysterious ancient formation. Tsang waved his right hand, and the Celestial Emperor's pearls all fell toward his palm. When the first Celestial Emperor's pearl fell, a shocking scene appeared. The Celestial Emperor's pearl seemed to have undergone a huge transformation and actually burst out with a magnificent aura. It turned into a monstrous light and directly rushed toward Qin Nan. The other Celestial Emperor's pearls that fell were the same. Boom, boom, boom! Qin Nan and the rest quickly retaliated. However, in less than 10 breaths of time, Huang Fu-ju, Eternal Night Sky Sovereign, and the rest clearly sensed that the situation that had been reversed once again. An emperor-level cultivation technique is actually so powerful. It has almost doubled their battle strength. Huang Fu-ju and the others were all shocked. Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian used more and more methods, which indirectly allowed them to understand more and more things about the various heavens and realms. Qin Nan, you can't stop me anymore. Yi Zhaoxian and Song's figures suddenly changed. Song mobilized the 33 beads of the Celestial Emperor, as if he was controlling 33 peerless gods, enveloping the celestial tree, ancestor Mingqiu, and the others in one fell swoop. Yi Zhaoxian locked onto Qin Nan with a sharp gaze. A mighty saint aura began to burst out of his body and spread in all directions. Holy Monarch Heaven Severing Technique. Another Emperor-level superpower was used by Yi Zhaoxian. A purplish-gold sword qi soared into the sky and slashed at Qin Nan. As the sword qi slashed down, a dragon's roar sounded in the surroundings, making the scene quite solemn. This was the Holy Monarch's sword qi. It contained the Holy Monarch's terrifying will to slash the heavens into pieces. Yi Zhaoxian, you really disappoint me. I didn't expect you to be so stupid. Remember this. No matter how the 7 great treasures teach you or what cultivation techniques they teach you, you will never be my match. Qin Nan said coldly. Every word seemed to contain great power and directly penetrated Yi Zhaoxian's soul. The space-time cannon in Qin Nan's body immediately activated. That space-time cultivation technique? No, the space-time aura you emit has reached such a level. Yi Zhaoxian's eyes narrowed slightly. The space-time aura represented how much space-time power a person had mastered. The last time he fought with Qin Nan, the space-time aura that Qin Nan emitted was much less than his. He could only passively defend against his space-time array. But now, Qin Nan was more than twice as strong as him? In just a few months, how did Qin Nan undergo such a huge change? No, this should be Qin Nan's hidden move in the last battle? He didn't expect Qin Nan to be so scheming? Space-time reversal array. Qin Nan mobilized the majestic space-time power and directly evolved an extremely mysterious array in front of him. At this moment, the Holy Monarch's sword qi slashed down and hit the array. A shocking scene appeared. The array only shook slightly, but the Holy Monarch's sword qi was weakened at a speed visible to the naked eye. Qin Nan flicked his finger and shattered the remaining Holy Monarch's sword qi. Seniors, madams, I have set up this array for you. The effect of this array is... Qin Nan quickly transmitted his divine thought and at the same time, he formed a seal with his hands. 6 space-time power immediately rushed out of his body and landed on Celestial Tree and the others, forming one array after another. One person controlling 7 arrays? Of course, with Qin Nan's current space-time power, if he controlled 7 arrays alone, the power of each array would be greatly weakened and he wouldn't be able to maintain it for long. But it was more than enough. It was completely enough? With a space-time reversal array, as long as Song and Yi Zhaoxian's attacks were weakened by 30 to 40%, then the remaining 60 to 70% could be easily dealt with. Qin Nan did not stop there. A wisp of the will of the space-time sacred manuscript gathered at the tip of his finger. It eventually turned into wisps of gray light that entered the space-time godly boulder that Yi Zhaoxian had summoned. The illusory space-time divine steels trembled violently as if they had been struck by lightning. Cracks appeared on them, and large amounts of space-time power began to dissipate. This was the suppression of the space-time cannon? The space-time cannon was the highest space-time power. The mysteries of space-time it contained were the most complete and thorough in the world. Any other space-time power that came into contact with it would be completely affected and difficult to maintain. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Calm. Chapter 2685. So what if my space-time technique is suppressed? I don't need space-time techniques now. Yi Zhaoxian spoke coldly and created 2 doppelgangers. Each doppelganger had a blurry face and wore a white robe. The holy light above their heads made them look extremely sacred. As soon as Yi Zhaoxian formed a seal, the 2 doppelgangers also formed seals. However, the strange thing was that the seals formed by Yi Zhaoxian and the 2 doppelgangers were different. Holy King slaughtering magic. At that moment, Yi Zhaoxian and the two doppelgangers changed their seals and slammed their palms forward at the same time. The void in all directions immediately boiled like water, and a majestic white figure appeared from it. It held a golden longsword and slashed downward. Terrifying sword chi was released from the sword. Each ray seemed to have its own consciousness and kept flashing in midair. It attacked Qin Nan, Celestial Tree, and everyone else from all kinds of tricky angles. Using two strange doppelgangers to perform a part of the supernatural power together, thereby shortening the time it takes to release the supernatural power? Qin Nan's eyes flashed. He, the heaven-reaching Dao Tree, and the others could execute their moves with a single thought, yet Yi Zhaoxian was only able to do it with a special method. This also meant that Imperial-level cultivation techniques were not so easy to cultivate, and Imperial-level supernatural powers were not so easy to comprehend. Although the 7 great treasures had generously given Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian the Imperial-level cultivation techniques and supernatural powers, time was limited and the two of them could not fully comprehend them. For example, thus, they were unable to display their full power. Qin Nan glanced at Celestial Tree, Ancestor Mingqiu, and Princess Miao Miao. He formed a seal and immediately there was a roar in the void. An illusory majestic mountain immediately fell from the sky and crushed the white figure into pieces. It continued to suppress Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian. Song He and Yi Zhaoxian narrowed their eyes and immediately unleashed a heaven-defying technique to resist the attack. Back in the battle in the primary upper realm, the two of them were completely suppressed by this move and lost. Even though they were no longer the same as before, they didn't dare to underestimate this move. At this time, the Celestial Tree, the Mingqiu Ancestor, and the Princess Miao Miao immediately moved. The Celestial Tree and the Mingqiu Ancestor went to one side and activated their treasures, releasing their peerless divine auras. The 3 girls and the Ling Huang Ancestor went to the other side to set up a killing trap. Qin Nan guarded one side alone. This was the tripartite formation. Although it was the most common and simple formation in the Great Upper Realm, it was also the most useful and effective. Heaven-devouring fan. Heavenly Book of Chaoga. Song and Yi Zhaoxian fully unleashed the power of the 2 treasures, unleashing a shocking power to resist the sacred demon world mountain that Qin Nan had summoned with brute force. The 2 freed up their hands and executed their emperor-level arts, unleashing a tremendous force. Sacred Demon Saber Art of the Primary Force. Qin Nan's figure was engulfed in a layer of invisible flames. His aura felt like it was on fire. He unleashed the primary force in his body, controlling the power of the half-inextinguishable flesh of eternity and the power of the immortal demon. They all entered the heaven-shattering saber and turned into a new force. The heaven-shattering saber buzzed vigorously as if it was uttering a cry into the sky. It unleashed wisps of snow-white saber intents, each with a tremendous force. Bang bang bang, bang. A series of deafening explosions took place. Qin Nan, Celestial Tree, and Princess Miao Miao executed a mystical movement technique. Their figures moved rapidly as they surrounded Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian and attacked them continuously. If an ordinary Supreme Tao Heavenly Highness was trapped in such a situation, they would surely die in the end. However, Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian had already transformed. Even if they hadn't completely comprehended the monarch-level cultivation method and divine ability, their battle prowess had increased by too much. Surprisingly, the 2 sides were evenly matched. No, however, there was another reason for the situation. They were currently in the Blue Dome. Qin Nan's primary force was unable to unleash its true strength here. As a result, Qin Nan's strength was significantly weakened. Qin Nan's current strength was only slightly stronger than Tsang's. He was no longer able to crush them like he did in the past. After following the 7 treasures, it is indeed different. In such a short period of time, our combat strength has increased by so much. This is also because Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian's martial talent is not enough. If their martial talent is enough, and they completely comprehend the emperor-level cultivation method and divine ability, then, on the other side, Huang Fuju was observing the situation as he thought to himself. There are too many variables here. It's better not to get involved for the time being. However, I can't do nothing. It's time to show my power as a demon master. Huang Fuju's gaze fell on a peak Heavenly Highness. He slapped his palm forward, and an illusory Buddha descended from the sky, suppressing the peak Heavenly Highness. Divine sense arts? The peak Heavenly Highness saw through the clues at a glance and smiled. I have mastered a few divine sense arts. Today I will test your move. He directly drew the illusory Buddha into his sea of consciousness. Just as he was about to use his divine sense arts, he suddenly felt a monstrous demonic intent surging from the bottom of the Buddha. This caused the glaring Vajra to instantly turn into a peerless demon, releasing a magnificent aura. The peak Heavenly Highness's expression changed drastically. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2686. This person was clearly the Buddha of the ancient Bodhi temple. How could he unleash such a terrifying demonic divine ability? Could it be that he was actually a demonic overlord? A thought flashed through the peak Heavenly Venerate's mind. He reacted very quickly and unleashed his divine sense divine ability. However, a terrifying scene appeared. His divine sense divine ability was crushed to pieces as soon as it was unleashed. Not only that, but demonic runes flew out of the unparalleled great demon and scattered all over his sea of consciousness, sealing it. His sea of consciousness could not be activated. The peak Heavenly Venerate looked at the others. He wanted to call for help, but he was horrified to find that he could not even make a sound. Tight then, the unparalleled great demon moved in his sea of consciousness, unleashing one killing technique after another in all directions, causing this peak Empyrean to immediately scream miserably. His body flashed in all directions, randomly unleashing one divine ability after another as if he had gone mad. Amitabha, this benefactor has already gone mad. He must be killed to be free. Huang Fuju put his palms together and transformed into the Buddha's hand, slapping down on the peak Heavenly Venerate. Let me help you. Eternal Night Heavenly Venerate's eyes flashed as he unleashed the light of Eternal Night. In just a moment, the peak Heavenly Venerate let out a shrill cry and died on the spot. The treasure he had obtained had suffered considerable damage and became an ownerless item. Not only that, the 6 Emperor Divine Sources that poured into everyone's bodies immediately increased by a lot. Original the atmosphere suddenly became eerie, and killing intent surged. 6 Heavenly Venerate Fong, Heavenly Venerate Huang Yun, and the others were not surprised at all. No kill? How was that possible? Every killing a Heavenly Venerate would not only give them an ownerless treasure, but the 6 Emperor Divine Sources would also become stronger. More importantly, in the process of killing a peak Heavenly Venerate, their essence, energy, and spirit would also become stronger. At that time, they would have more hope of breaking through to the Supreme Heavenly Venerate realm. Fellow Taoist Huang Yun, let's join forces. Heavenly Venerate Lu Fang shouted as his gaze locked onto a white-haired old man. All right. Heavenly Venerate Huang Yun nodded. She raised her jade-like hand and unleashed a killing move. Humph. I knew that you would not have good intentions. The white-haired old man snorted coldly and joined forces with another peak Heavenly Venerate to resist. Kill. Kill. Huang Fuju became excited when he saw this. He unleashed one Buddhist divine ability after another. Another outside, Qin Nan's group and Yi Tsang's group completely ignored what was going on. The confrontation between them was extremely intense and dangerous. No one dared to be the slightest bit careless, because the slightest carelessness would allow the opponent to seize the opportunity and fall into danger. Gradually, everyone had injuries on their bodies. The clothes they wore were all stained with blood. That's it, even Qin Nan was no exception. Although his current body was extremely strong, Song and Yi Zhaoxian's emperor-level divine art could easily break through his defense. Division apart from that, the battles between the treasures were also extremely intense. Qin on Nan's side, with the square heaven ancient lantern as the vanguard, he kept bombarding the heaven-devouring fan and Chaoga heavenly book. Fang Ruyu, in particular, deliberately shouted as she attacked, "You two juniors, why don't you kneel and beg for mercy? Abandon the darkness and join the light. I'm in a good mood today, so I can show you mercy." The spirits of the heaven fan and Chaoga heavenly book gnashed their teeth, their faces full of anger. If it weren't for the fact that they didn't want to affect the overall plan, they would have fought Fang Ruyu to the death. Boom, boom, bang. A series of earth-shattering explosions kept ringing on the mountain peak. Terrifying aftershocks of astral energy kept sweeping in all directions, causing the celestial venerables on the mountainside to raise their eyebrows and exclaim in their hearts. If it weren't for the fact that the peak of Mountain of Origin was extraordinary, this battle would have been enough to completely crush everything on the mountain peak and return it to nothingness. Although time was passing little by little, everyone had forgotten about the time in this battle. They didn't pay attention to it because they only had one thought in their minds right now, and that was to kill the enemy in front of them. Qin Nan didn't know how much time had passed, nor did he know how many killing moves he had made. The essence, qi, and spirit he had gathered all became stronger and more concentrated. All of a sudden, Qin Nan sensed something different. Every time he swung his blade, there seemed to be some kind of subtle reaction with this strange world. There was an invisible thing, like drops of water, that began to converge into his body. Gradually, he entered a half-enlightened state in the midst of the battle. The various mysteries of the Datong heaven skill appeared in his mind, constantly evolving and constantly combining. Previously, Qin Nan had a vague idea of the lower part of the Datong heaven skill when he deduced it. Now, since Qin Nan was the first to ascend the Origin Mountain, he had obtained the most 6 monarch god sources, and with the continuous enhancement from the Origin Mountain, he was able to achieve such a remarkable result in the battle between two evenly matched opponents. Qin Nan sped up and slashed out more and more saber qi. At the same time, the mysteries he comprehended also became deeper and deeper. It seemed that he would eventually evolve the truth of heaven and earth, and completely write down the lower part of the Datong heaven skill. However, at this moment, Qin Nan's soul suddenly trembled violently. In the depths of his sea of consciousness, there was a loud rumbling sound. Qin Nan only felt that everything in his body seemed to have broken through a cloud and saw the scene behind the cloud. That was a door. A door that led to the Supreme Celestial Venerables. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Calm. Chapter 2687. In an instant, the 6 Emperor Celestial Sources seemed to have sensed something. The power that flowed into Qin Nan's body immediately increased significantly, while the power that the other heavenly venerates received decreased slightly. This was also the rule set by the spirit of the Celestial Pole List and the others back then. If someone touched the threshold, they would receive preferential treatment. Although this preferential treatment wasn't much, it might have an unexpected effect at a critical moment. Tight then, a mysterious aura was released from Qin Nan's body. Like a storm, it enveloped the entire mountain peak. Exhaustion. Although this aura was invisible, every celestial venerate could sense it. They even realized that this aura seemed to be affecting their essence, energy, and spirit, as if it was helping them open a new door. This was one of the mysteries of the Origin Mountain. Clang. When someone touched the threshold of a supreme heavenly venerate, the Origin Mountain would rapidly expand this mysterious aura by hundreds of times. This would allow the other heavenly venerates to sense this aura and use it to guide them to open the door of a supreme heavenly venerate, increasing their chances of breaking through. Clang. However, there were pros and cons to this. When the first heavenly venerate touched the threshold of a supreme heavenly venerate and released the aura, if the other heavenly venerates hadn't followed this aura and touched the threshold, then it would be much more difficult for them to touch the threshold by themselves after the first heavenly venerate became a supreme heavenly venerate. For example, if a second heavenly venerate touched the threshold and released the aura and the other heavenly venerates still hadn't followed this aura, then there would be no more chances. Fellow Taoist Qin's talent is really extraordinary. He actually touched the threshold of a breakthrough so quickly. Song's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. One had to know that he and Yi Zhaoxian had ascended to a supreme heavenly venerate in the past. With this kind of experience as a foundation, coupled with the fact that they had been reborn in this world and had accumulated much more than they had in their previous lives, it stood to reason that he and Yi Zhaoxian should be the first to touch the threshold and draw the aura. Root. According to Tsang's calculations, he would probably need another day to touch the threshold, which was twice as fast as in his previous life. However, Qin Nan was twice as fast as he was. This is what kind of terrifying talent did one need to be able to achieve this? Is it really as the ancestor speculated? A thought flashed through his mind. My goodness, that brat Qin Nan's talent is truly frightening. On the other hand, Huang Fuju was shocked when he realized what was going on. No wonder the 7 great treasures want to get rid of Qin Nan. With such terrifying talent and the clear dragon-proof seal, if he breaks through to the supreme celestial realm, wouldn't he be? Fuju's eyes flickered. It seemed that it was time for him to make a choice. At this moment, Qin Nan's mind suddenly sobered up. He instantly felt that he was in a mysterious state. His essence, energy, and spirit stood before the door. Qin Nan understood this feeling very well. As long as he could break through that door, he could become a supreme heavenly venerate. If it were any other heavenly venerate, even Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian, they would feel a sense of joy in their hearts. However, to be honest, Qin Nan did not feel the slightest bit of joy. Instead, he felt a little melancholy. First of all, Qin Nan had absolute confidence that he could touch the threshold of a breakthrough. This was because Origin Mountain had a special blessing. In addition, he had once broken through to the supreme celestial realm. Even if he was not the first to touch the threshold, as long as Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian and the others attracted the qi, he would definitely be able to use it. More importantly, his mysterious and profound state of half-comprehension was ruthlessly interrupted, allowing his thoughts to return to normal, allowing his essence, energy, and spirit to be immersed in the critical juncture of breaking through. Compared to the breakthrough, Qin Nan wanted to continue maintaining that half-enlightened state. Perhaps he could use this state to completely evolve the outline of the second part, and then continue to perfect the second part. If he missed this opportunity, he did not know how long it would take to enter this state next time. Perhaps this is all fated? If you want to completely perfect the great unity heaven art, you must go through many trials and tribulations before you can finally cultivate it. It's like breaking through a large realm must be done under a grand occasion. Thinking of this, Nan came to a realization and immediately calmed his emotions. He no longer sighed regretfully. The pupils in Nan's eyes refocused and regained their vigor. He could clearly see everything in front of him. Tong the heavenly Tao tree, ancestor Ming Chu, Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao all had extraordinary splendor in their eyes. There was a trace of surprise on their faces. Tsang Yi Zhaoxian and Yi Zhaoxian looked at him, one with a strange look, the other with a murderous look. Qin Nan, you brat, you're really good. Fang Ruyu was also quite excited. The artifact spirits of the other treasures also had different expressions. They were all quite surprised. Seniors, madams, and all the supreme treasures, please lend me a hand and help me attain the supreme position. Qin Nan transmitted his voice. He unleashed the force in his body, turning it into saber intense and martial arts, attacking Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian. Affirmative! the crowd responded. They were all in high spirits and passionate. Bang bang bang. Qin Nan's figure kept flashing, and the mysterious aura behind him began to grow stronger. He fixed his gaze on Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian and said, "The time you've been waiting for has finally arrived. It's time to unleash the true killing moves that the 7 great treasures have arranged for you." Tsang did not speak. Yi Zhaoxian remained silent for a moment, before a cold grin appeared on her face. "Then, as you wish. Calm. Wonderful Book House." Chapter 2688. As soon as he finished speaking, Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian formed a hand seal at the same time. An invisible force was immediately released from the underworld, and it was increasing at an astonishing speed. In less than 2 breaths of time, it was strong enough to make Ancestor Mingqiu and the others feel it. He felt an extremely strong sense of oppression, and even breathing was a little difficult. Look. Most new greater than over equal to chapter section greater than over equal to 100 degree greater than over equal to search so greater than over equal to zapin greater than over equal to a book greater than over equal to a net greater than over equal to. It was an emperor level mystical ability, and it was an extremely rare combination attack. Its power was significantly stronger than an ordinary emperor level mystical ability. Without being exaggerating, it was the strongest move that Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian had mastered so far. Sacred Sky-Breaking Halberd. Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian groaned at the same time. Their palms immediately emitted a brilliant purple glow, which merged into the illusionary figure of an ancient halberd. They gathered a strong aura at the tip of the halberd and thrust it forward. Bang! The sage devil mountain above their heads was instantly shattered into pieces. The boundless astral energy seemed to transform into numerous divine dragons that slammed into the ancient square heaven lamp and the other magical treasures. Fang Ruyu and the other spirit automaton spirits were also affected. They cursed as they tried their best to resist the attack. The final spear glow penetrated deep into the clouds, but instead of dissipating, it made a huge turn and dove downward, aiming at Qin Nan's head. Break! Qin Nan sprang into the sky and inserted all his energy into the heaven-shattering saber, turning it into a brilliant saber intent. Bang bang bang! This spear was simply too terrifying. Even with Qin Nan's strength, he could barely resist it. His body shuddered violently, causing his blood to boil. Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian did not pursue the attack. Yi Zhaoxian reappeared somewhere else with a flicker. He closed his eyes and sat down with his legs crossed while uttering an ancient chant. His hands were performing a series of hand seals, summoning illusionary flowers behind him. An illusory 9-colored divine lotus appeared and floated into the air. Tsangde waved his hand and summoned the 33 celestial emperor's pearls, which transformed into a formation. Then, he unleashed the heaven-covering hand, increasing the power of the formation by several times. It landed on Yi Zhaoxian, protecting her completely. Not good, that is a very powerful ancient summoning method. He is summoning something. Fang Ruyu's expression changed slightly. She transmitted her voice to Qin Nan, Celestial Tree, and the others. We must interrupt him, or the consequences will be unimaginable. The thing that was summoned was definitely a killing move prepared by the 7 supreme treasures. Life burn. The Celestial Tree immediately reacted. Without hesitation, it burned 9,999 years of its 10,000 years of life in one breath, causing a soul-stirring green light to radiate from it. His aura also increased explosively, temporarily reaching the level of Yi Zhaoxian. Wrath of the Celestial Tree. The Celestial Tree revealed its true form. It turned into an enormous ancient tree that took root on the mountain peak. Countless branches burst out and fell like a terrifying rain of swords. The Celestial Emperor's pearls glowed brightly to resist the attack. Tsang's figure flickered continuously, shattering the branches one after another. Kill! Mingqiu Ancestor, Ling Wang Ancestor, Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao executed their forbidden techniques, raising their strength to a new peak. Each of their treasures was activated to the strongest level. They floated in the air and unleashed their power. The 5 of them were multitasking, performing hand seals to execute their killing move. Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao even executed a joint attack. Bang bang bang! Song kept retreating, passively defending. Even he could not take the attacks head-on. The great formation formed by the 33 pearls of the Celestial Emperor began to shake violently. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2689. Soon, 10 magnificent figures walked out of each door. Their bodies were illusory, and it was impossible to see their true appearances. However, one could vaguely see that their eyes seemed to contain an endless sea of blood, and they emitted a terrifying bloody light. Their tall and sturdy bodies were covered in some kind of ancient armor, and they held various different weapons in their hands. What was even stranger was that the auras they emitted were not much different from the auras of the heavenly venerates present. It was as if all of them were peak heavenly venerates. What are they? Huang Fuju's hair stood on end. Are they 10 heaven venerables? Then, that's impossible. He knew that Qin Nan and Yi Zhaoxian were both Dao venerables, the highest level of heaven venerables. However, Qin Nan and Yi Zhaoxian could only make him feel threatened, but not terrified. Holy shit, have the 7 supreme treasures gone mad? They're using the 10 sacred souls of heaven and earth here. Fang Ruyu was shocked. He couldn't believe it. 10 sacred souls of heaven and earth? What's that? Qin Nan asked with a stern face. This single imposing figure had already made him feel an intense sense of danger, let alone now that there were 10 of them. The sacred soul of heaven and earth is a special existence nurtured by heaven and earth. The conditions for its birth are extremely strict. Not to mention the other requirements, the environment where it's born must be the place where a terrifying battle took place and dozens of ultimate treasures fell. Ryu clenched his teeth and said, "After my master died, the 7 ultimate treasures caused a great disturbance. Many ultimate treasures fell, and together with the strange blue dome, 10 sacred souls of heaven and earth were born. The power of the sacred soul of heaven and earth is extremely terrifying. As long as a cultivator refines it, it will listen to the cultivator's orders like a clone. The power it can display will also be a level higher than the original cultivator." Qin Nan was startled. This ability was indeed extremely terrifying. No. Once a heaven venerate obtained the sacred soul of heaven and earth, the sacred soul of heaven and earth would be able to display the power of a supreme heaven venerate. It could also be commanded at will without worrying about betrayal. Of course, the saint's soul of heaven and earth had yet to reach the level of heaven-defying. If an immortal emperor obtains them, the power they can display will be 1 realm lower than an immortal emperor, and they will not be able to surpass an immortal emperor. Moreover, the saint's souls of heaven and earth won't grow with the cultivator. After the cultivator refines them, they will remain in whatever realm they are in. It won't change. Ryu said sadly, "The Dongguang Great Void Chain is really a waste of natural resources." If these 10 saint souls of the heavens and earth were to appear in the myriad worlds, it would attract the attention of countless great powers. Even immortal emperors might take action. Now, he actually gave the saint soul of heaven and earth to 2 celestial venerables. However, Fang Ryu knew that the Dongguang Great Void Chain and the others had no choice. The rules of the Blue Dome and the Mountain of Origin had all kinds of restrictions on them. Even if they had the ability to reach the heavens, they could only take out the saint's soul of heaven and earth in the end. Not to mention other deeper reasons, just one of the ironclad rules of the Mountain of Origin was that creatures above the peak of the Celestial Master Realm were not allowed to enter the Mountain of Origin. If they had to force their way in, the Mountain of Origin would send away all the creatures inside and then self-destruct. Only by taking out the saint souls of heaven and earth could Song and Yi Zhaoxian possess the absolute power to kill Qin Nan without violating the rules of the Mountain of Origin. Qin Nan ignored Feng Ruyu's words. He raised his head and looked at the 10 imposing figures above. He felt an unparalleled pressure, making him feel like he was about to suffocate. These are only 10 supreme heaven venerates, Qin Nan thought. Nan muttered to himself. Also, with Song and Yi Zhaoxian, their battle strength was comparable to that of a supreme heaven venerate, and even surpassed that of an ordinary supreme heaven venerate. Change. In other words, they were facing a total of 12 supreme heaven venerates. First previously, he and the celestial tree had only barely suppressed Song and Yi Zhaoxian when they had gone all out. Then would they be able to win against such a lineup? Qin Nan. Hubby. The celestial tree, Ancestor Mingqiu, Ancestor Ling Huang, Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao only felt that their bodies were about to crumble under the terrifying deterrence. But, however, they still stood firmly behind Qin Nan. Hubby, you're not alone. Princess Miao Miao murmured softly. Her eyes flickered in the darkness, as if they were glittering. Everyone would feel fear, and Princess Miao Miao and the others were no exception. They were also afraid, but they suppressed their emotions until they could not turn over. That's right. I'm not alone. Qin Nan's gaze gradually sharpened. This was a great calamity that was about to come, and a great battle that could not be avoided. He had no choice but to give it his all. Buzz. Buzz. The space-time formation appeared on his body. It unleashed countless gray auras that wrapped around him. Qin Nan, you're really lucky to have so many fools willing to stand with you, Yi Zhaoxian scoffed and waved her hand. Kill. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2690. The 10 saint souls of the heavens and earth immediately move. An earth-shattering aura surged down, creating a storm that wreaked havoc in all directions. Boom. 10 The saint souls of the heavens and earth didn't use any technique. They only took a step forward and instantly arrived 15 meters above Qin Nan's group. They threw a punch at the same time. It was such a simple punch, but it exploded with unstoppable power. It was as if the punch was formed from the sky and born from the earth. It contained all the divine might and mysteries of the world. That was why the saint souls of the heavens and earth were so powerful. Although they were born without intelligence and couldn't master any spells, they were born with the laws of the world. Every punch, every palm, and every kick contained the will of the great Tao. There was no way to surpass it. Buzz! Leaf Immortal Zhao and Song didn't stop. They were multitasking. They activated their Dharma treasures and unleashed divine might. They formed hand seals with one hand and slashed out sword chi. I'll use my original body to create the world mountain. Qin Nan roared. He used his invincible body as the heart of the mountain. Then, he used the half-step eternal indestructible body and the will of the immortal demon incantation to merge with the will of the great evolution world mountain. He created a mountain with intertwining black and white lights that enveloped them all. In addition, Qin Nan released a huge amount of space-time power from his body and created a space-time formation. It turned into countless formation runes that covered the entire mountain. World Tree. The celestial tree flew up. Countless roots sank into the mountain, causing it to shine with a green light. Its enormous body landed on the summit of the mountain. It swayed with the wind, looking proud and unyielding. From afar, it seemed to have merged with the mountain. They were inseparable and coexisted with each other. Exquisite chess game. Great desolation style. 3 emperors immortal formation. Ancestral Patriarch Mingqiu, Ancestral Patriarch Ling Huang, Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao all performed their most powerful divine powers. They created different grand forces and mysteries that merged with the mountain. In addition to that, the Dharma treasures rose around Qin Nan and released mighty divine might. They stayed where they were and merged into one. This was because this wave of attacks was truly too terrifying. It was like the wrath of the heavenly Tao that had traversed boundless space and time to arrive. They could only gather their strongest strength and form their strongest defensive moves to resist. In the blink of an eye, 12 earth-shattering attacks landed on the mystical and extraordinary mountain. Rumble! The enormous mountain peak began to tremble. If one were to observe carefully, they would discover that tiny cracks had appeared on the extremely powerful mountain peak. An extremely majestic remnant force surged outwards, causing the expressions of Huang Fuju, Eternal Night Tianzuan, and the others on the other side to change slightly. Each of them used their own methods to protect their bodies. If they didn't resist, their bodies wouldn't be able to withstand it, and they would definitely be injured. Holy shit, the 7 great treasures are truly ruthless. They actually used such a large amount of resources to deal with Qin Nan. Such a terrifying killing intent. I wonder how much Qin Nan and the others can withstand. Huang Fuju's heart skipped a beat. He quickly activated his god eyes and looked at the center of the storm. Only seeing this, the celestial tree was the first to reach its limit. It let out a deep groan as the green light it was emitting dimmed. Countless branches were shattered into pieces. Its enormous body became bare. For the celestial tree, the destruction of most of its branches was equivalent to a serious injury. Division. In addition to this, the mystical mountain began to tremble vigorously. Cracks began to appear at the foot of the mountain and spread upward. Qin Nan was the center of the mountain, continuously inserting energy to maintain the mystical mountain. Minchu progenitor, Ling Wang progenitor, and Princess Miao Miao clenched their teeth and held on with pale faces. 2 breaths later, Qin Nan and the others could not hold on any longer under the destructive force. The mystical mountain shattered into pieces and turned into light dots filling the sky. Astral amidst the turbulence, the celestial tree fell to the ground. Green liquid sprayed out from its trunk. Qin Nan suffered the greatest impact. Although he was only knocked back a step, many wounds appeared all over his body. Drops of sacred blood flowed out and fell to the ground like flowers. Mingchu progenitor and the others also suffered a great impact. Everyone's faces were pale. Blood flowed out from the corners of their mouth. Their auras were several times weaker than before. Only just the first attack had severely injured the celestial tree. Qin Nan and the others were all injured. The light of many artifacts dimmed too. The astral energy calmed down, and the dust dissipated. Eternal Night Heaven Highness, Huang Yun Heaven Highness, Lu Fang Heaven Highness, and the rest of the authorities could not help but feel their hearts tremble when they saw this. How terrifying! They were beaten up like this with just a single move. If this continued, Qin Nan and the others would be killed in less than 100 breaths. They would have no chance of reaching the Supreme Highness realm. I wonder if Qin Nan and the others have any other trump cards, Emperor Huang said. Fu Ju's heart stirred. He retracted his gaze and directly attacked Huang Yun, who was not far away from him. In such a situation, he had to plan for the worst. He had to borrow Qin Nan's mysterious aura as soon as possible to let him touch the threshold of breaking through to the Supreme Highness realm. Otherwise, it would be troublesome later. Emperor Huang Yun and the others also realized the problem. They brazenly attacked and unleashed their killing technique. Forever Emperor Ye's eyes flashed. He did not continue to pay attention and began to participate in the battle. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2691. Yi Zhaoxian did not care about the battle between Huang Fuju and the others. He floated in the air and looked down at Qin Nan as if he was looking at an ant. He said calmly, Qin Nan, do you understand now? This is the outcome that you can't change. Following the words, a brilliant golden sword intent burst out from his body and slashed in Qin Nan's direction with a shocking aura. He was going to behead Qin Nan with his own hands. Sacred demon saber of the origin. Qin Nan raised his saber and slashed forward. Sounds of deities and demons echoed in the surroundings. A magnificent saber intent surged forward like a storm and shattered the sword intent into pieces. Yi Zhaoxian seemed to have expected it. He turned into a ray of light and charged at Qin Nan. He threw a punch at him. Sky-covering hand. With a grab of his hand, pieces of ice and snow appeared in the void before him. Although each piece of ice and snow looked very small, they actually contained a boundless will that contained extremely terrifying power. Kill. Celestial Tree reverted to his human form. He spat out a mouthful of blood and unleashed a peerless god art. Kill. First Ancestor and the others didn't care about their injuries at all. They also didn't care about the situation in front of them. They each used their Dharma treasures and divine arts to rush forward. They did not consider that it was a meaningless struggle, or it might not make any difference. They only had one thought in mind. They had to keep killing until Qin Nan achieved the Supreme Highness realm. Even if it would result in their deaths. Yi Zhaoxian shouted. A cold smile appeared on the corner of Immortal Zhao's mouth. Bang! 10 The magnificent sacred souls of the heavens and earth moved again. They spread apart under Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian's orders and formed a huge formation around Qin Nan and the others. Their eyes flickered with blood-red light. There was no killing intent, nor were there any emotional fluctuations. They simply threw out another punch. 10 overwhelming punches burst forward, as if 10 ancient heavenly rivers had crossed the boundless time and space, trying to devour everything in the world. Their second attack was still as terrifying as before. Compared to the previous attack, not only was it not weaker, it was even more powerful. The saint souls of heaven and earth had no sentience or emotions. They did not know pain, and the power in their bodies was endless. As long as they continued to fight, they would be able to attract more and more power. Is the outcome already decided? Qin Nan's lips curled upward as he unleashed the divine battle spirit behind him. His battle intent rose rapidly as he said with a thunderous voice, "Perhaps everything is destined. However, it won't be that easy to kill me." The moment he spoke, the space-time formation that Qin Nan had formed shattered into countless pieces and disappeared. Tight following it, a magical gust of wind entered every inch of his body, every bone and every drop of blood. It was like the unsealing talismans of ancient times. It completely unsealed Qin Nan's seal. Heaven fighting art! Nan yelled as he performed a hand seal. A strong gust of wind swept across the place. His hair and robe drifted in the air. The eyes of Tsang, Yi Zhaoxian, and Huang Fuju and the rest of the Heaven Highnesses widened when they sensed the gust of wind. Only in the nick of time, a blinding golden glow was emitted from Qin Nan's body, which soared into the clouds, illuminating the darkness with a golden glow, resulting in an imperious aura. Qin Nan's weakened aura skyrocketed all of a sudden. Bang! After his aura skyrocketed, it actually caused a thunderous roar. Bang! Bang bang! Following it, 3 similar blasts took place in a row, each louder than the previous one. Qin Nan's aura had reached a terrifying level. It surpassed everyone's aura, including the sacred souls. It even shattered the aura of the 10 sacred soul guides with brute force. On the other hand, Qin Nan's aura had undergone a tremendous change. He was imperious like a reincarnated young emperor. It was Qin Nan's strongest move, the grand art of heaven gambling. Back then he had traveled back in time to the ancient times. After the spirit of the celestial pole list had succeeded as the successor of the Great Evolution Sect, he had met the founder of the Great Evolution Sect by chance with the help of the spirit of the celestial pole list. The founder of the Great Evolution Sect had pursued the true invincible art. He had spent a lot of effort and finally created the heaven-fighting art. This art was extremely heaven-defying. It was unlike other arts. After it was activated, It could silently circulate in one's body and accumulate power without affecting the casting of other art. In theory, as long as one had enough lifespan, it could circulate forever. Most importantly, the longer it circulated, the more power it could accumulate, and the more it could enhance one's strength. After Qin Nan had returned to his body from the ancient times, he had been circulating this great art in his body. When Qin Nan had entered the ancient square heaven lamp, he had met the young celestial emperor from the space-time temple and learned the space-time array. At that time, he had been inside the ancient square heaven lamp and activated the space-time array. After the space-time energy had been exhausted, he had quickly recovered and continued to use it. If it was converted to ordinary time and Qin Nan's previous accumulation, it would take him about 10 years. 10 years. 1 art per year. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2692. What kind of forbidden art is that? A shocked expression appeared on Fu Ju's face. He threw the enemy in front of him to the back of his mind and forgot to continue attacking. No. Only he, Tsang Yi Zhaoxian, and the Heaven Highnesses were astounded. They could not believe it. Each and every one of them had seen a lot of forbidden techniques, and had even mastered a few forbidden techniques. However, they had never seen or heard of any forbidden technique that could increase one's cultivation by several times. I see. Qin Nan did nothing but activate the space-time formation repeatedly in the past 2 months. So he was trying to execute this forbidden art. Fang Ruyu exclaimed excitedly after realizing the truth. He was quite confused when Qin Nan did it. He thought Qin Nan was just wasting his time. He even argued with Qin Nan a few times, until Qin Nan told him seriously that it was extremely important to execute the forbidden art. It might be able to turn the tables at a crucial moment. Thus, he did not say anything. No wonder the kid was so confident and claimed that he might be able to turn the tables around. The forbidden art must be a martial art that has surpassed the martial emperor realm. Fang Ruyu exclaimed. The others were clueless. The weapon spirits were clueless too, but he was the clearest about it. When he was following the master of the Blue Dome, he had come into contact with many powerful forbidden arts by chance. He had a deep understanding of forbidden arts that could improve temporarily. Generally speaking, this sort of forbidden technique that could temporarily increase one's strength required one to pay a certain price. Then, one's soul power, sea of consciousness power, body power, etc., would be increased. However, after Qin Nan executed the forbidden art, it improved his overall strength by a few times. It was as if Qin Nan had surpassed the threshold of the Heaven Highness realm and become a Supreme Highness. It was a complete transformation. Compared to an ordinary forbidden technique, the effect of this technique was like the difference between heaven and earth. Qin Nan, you've given us a lot of surprises. Song was the first to collect his thoughts. He exclaimed, I didn't expect you to be hiding such a terrifying move. If Cultivator Yi and I didn't make the right choice and stand on the side of the world, we would have died at your hands today. To be honest, I'm quite reluctant to kill you. I'm eager to see what kind of miracle you're going to create. Unfortunately, you're going to die today. Even if you've executed such a terrifying forbidden art, you still have to die today. Sang Sun made his move. He ignored the tremendous pressure that Qin Nan was giving him and the strong sense of danger in his heart. He carried the orb of the 33 heavens and threw a punch at Qin Nan like an ancient emperor. That's right. Yi Zhaoxian's face was slightly gloomy. After saying that, he followed Song's footsteps and unleashed sword qi that filled the sky. Each sword qi was dreamy and contained great power. Bang! 10. The saints' souls of the heavens and earth attacked again. Some threw a punch while others threw a punch. They did not hesitate at all because they did not know what was happening and what kind of opponent they were facing. Fight! Qin Nan stomped on the ground and crushed the ground within a radius of 5 feet. He rushed up like a peerless immortal light and slashed out with his saber. He cut off the Emperor Qi in Song's hand and forced Song to retreat. Then, he turned his wrist and threw out another wave of saber Qi. It was as if he had opened up a huge saber net and scattered it in all directions. "Haha, Qin Nan, good job. You didn't let me down." The celestial tree looked up and laughed. He ignored his serious injuries and rushed toward a saint's soul of the heavens and earth. The ancestor of Mingqiu and the other two, Princess Miao Miao and the other two, also activated their divine powers and attacked a saint's soul of the heavens and earth respectively. This is getting more and more interesting. I'll act according to the circumstances later, Huang Fuju thought. He shouted Amitabha and threw out 1,000 Buddha palm. Bang! Bang bang! The battle became even more terrifying and intense. If it weren't for the extraordinary Origin Mountain and the 6 monarch god sources, the mountain would have been shattered into pieces by now. Then, the Heaven Highnesses who had yet to qualify were astounded when they sensed the ripples coming from above. Some were overjoyed, but most of them were worried. After an unknown period of time, Song, whose entire body was soaked in blood, suddenly released a mysterious aura. It transformed into a storm that enveloped the entire mountain peak. "It's a lot earlier than I expected. Qin Nan, I must thank you." A smile appeared on Song's face. Following that, as the battle continued, and under the guidance of Qin Nan's aura, Song naturally reached the threshold of the Supreme Highness realm. A while later, another person unleashed a mystical aura. Unsurprisingly, that person was Yi Zhaoxian. However, less than 2 breaths of time after he touched the threshold of Transcendent Empyrean, a faintly discernible Tao sound rang out. Another person touched the threshold of Transcendent Empyrean, making Yi Zhaoxian slightly surprised. Empyrean Huangyun and the rest all cast looks of surprise. Here that person was Huang Fuju, the Buddha in everyone's eyes. Ah, awesome! When I fought with these ants, the pressure I faced and the concentration of my essence, energy, and spirit was far inferior to yours. However, I was only slower than you by 2 breaths and a few dozen breaths before reaching the threshold. This is enough to prove that my aptitude is about to surpass yours. Clang. Among the 4 Supreme Highnesses, he was the last one to reach the threshold. So many years had passed, but he was still brooding over it. Song and Zhou Di aside, he was still stronger than Yi Zhaoxian, right? Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2693. For a moment, the mysterious presence that enveloped the entire mountain peak became extremely dense. It even weakened the somber atmosphere by quite a bit. It made people feel like they had arrived on an ancient altar to receive the baptism of the ways. Without a doubt, it was great news for the other celestial venerables because the stronger the presence was, the greater the benefits they would receive. They would have a greater chance of becoming a supreme celestial venerate. Of course, if they missed this opportunity and failed to keep up with Qin Nan and the others, it would be even more difficult for them to break through on their own. Boom. Boom. The battle, the slaughter, still continued. No one stopped or showed mercy just because there were so many people who had reached the threshold to break through. Qin Nan displayed an unstoppable strength. He knocked Song and Yi Zhaoxian back with a single move, before he went behind the sacred souls of the heavens and earth and threw a punch at them with the synchronicity of gods and demons. The saints' souls took the attack head-on and were knocked back. Some of them had their arms broken, some had their legs broken, and some even had half their bodies destroyed. However, they did not cry out in pain. Their bodies recovered in an instant. They reacted extremely quickly and changed their forms in an instant. They faced Qin Nan and threw punches and palms at him. They intertwined with powerful forces. It was not easy to kill a saint's soul unless one could destroy it completely in one blow. That way, they would be able to recover from their injuries. Song attacked again. He used the Renhuang, earthly, and heavenly emperor sword moves. 3 dignified phantoms appeared behind him and unleashed shocking pressure. Qin Nan let out a roar and tore Song's sword net apart with a single slash. He then stomped down with his left foot, unleashing a formidable force that forced the 3 illusionary figures to drop to the ground. They fell to one knee and tried their best to defend themselves. Saint's sword! Yi Zhaoxian flew out from behind Song. His eyes sharpened as the immortal sword in his hand emitted a sacred glow. He stabbed at Qin Nan's forehead as if he was a saint punishing a mortal for his disrespect. Qin Nan swung the heaven-shattering saber. The saber unleashed a brilliant saber intent as if it was sentient. It executed all kinds of moves to attack Song and the saint souls around him. Qin Nan reached out his right hand in the nick of time. A formidable force and will gathered in his arm before he threw it forward. Primary Sacred Demon Fist. The punch could be considered the strongest punch that Qin Nan was capable of executing for now. Yi Zhaoxian's pupil shrank. Without another word, he formed a seal with his left hand. Lines of holy light spread out from under his feet and quickly covered his entire body. Bang! What saint's sword! It was directly destroyed into nothingness by a single punch. In addition to it, the remaining force struck Yi Zhaoxian's chest like a heavenly dragon swinging its tail. It shattered the immortal runes and landed on Yi Zhaoxian's body. Yi Zhaoxian groaned and spat out a mouthful of blood. He was sent flying like an arrow being fired. If Qin Nan was fighting Yi Zhaoxian alone, even though Yi Zhaoxian was a Tao-reaching heaven highness, Qin Nan could easily crush Yi Zhaoxian in less than 1,000 breaths. However, right at this moment, a shocking change occurred that no one had expected. Yi Zhaoxian, your head is mine. A thunderous voice took place. On the other side, Eternal Night Heaven Highness turned into a pitch-black mist and charged at Yi Zhaoxian at a shocking pace. Hundreds of red rays were flickering deep inside the mist. Each ray was filled with murderous intent. What's going on? Why is Eternal Night attacking Yi Zhaoxian? Heaven Highness Huangyun, Heaven Highness Lu Fang, the Celestial Tree, Ancestor Mingqiu, and the others were dumbfounded. They could not believe it. Even Qin Nan's eyes flickered with astonishment. Qin Nan and Eternal Night Heaven Highness had an unresolvable grudge against one another because of Empress Feiyu. Everyone knew Qin Nan was going to get his revenge on Eternal Night Heaven Highness one day. Therefore, Eternal Night Heaven Highness had no intention of helping Qin Nan. Besides, everyone was well aware of Eternal Night Heaven Highness's personality. He was a patient Heaven Highness. He would choose to lower his head when he realized something was not right. He would not stir up any trouble. Most importantly, even though Qin Nan had used a forbidden art to improve his cultivation, Yi Zhaoxian and Song's formation was just too overwhelming. Qin Nan and his crew were still at a disadvantage. Yi Zhaoxian did not expect it either. Her eyes flickered with fury. If it was a normal moment, he would not put Empyrean Evernight in his eyes at all. But Empyrean Evernight grasped the timing too well right now, so much so that it made Yi Zhaoxian feel a strong sense of crisis. It was obvious that Eternal Night Heaven Highness had planned it all along. Sacred Light Art! Yi Zhaoxian yelled. She forcibly executed a forbidden art to execute an Emperor-level art in advance. Bang bang bang! A series of explosions took place. Even though Yi Zhaoxian was not killed by Eternal Night Heaven Highness, the ambush inflicted more injuries on her. She spat out another mouthful of blood. Eternal Night, how bold of you! Song snapped. His eyes turned cold. Haha, Cultivator Tsang, don't misunderstand, I didn't choose to side with Qin Nan. I'll make it clear, once I kill Yi Zhaoxian, I'll leave. I won't be involved. Eternal Night Heaven Highness burst out laughing. He sounded a little deranged. I've been the strongest cultivator in the primary upper realm for so many years. How could I allow myself to be humiliated by something like that? From today onward, I won't be patient anymore. I'm going to stir up a storm too. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 2694. Yi Zhaoxian gritted his teeth as his murderous aura rose. Don't you know how you became the strongest person in the great upper world? An ant like you wants to stir up a storm? What a joke. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned into a sharp sword light and slashed forward, tearing apart the layers of darkness. He was furious. Qin Nan had disrespected him time and time again, and the celestial tree had gone against him. Now, even an ant like this dared to sneak up on him. He had to kill Eternal Night Heavenly Venerable first before dealing with Qin Nan. Otherwise, everyone would think that Yi Zhaoxian was the weakest and could be bullied by anyone. Today, I'm going to kill you, Eternal Night Heavenly Venerable shouted. Yi Zhaoxian's eyes turned cold. With a wave of his hand, the power of darkness transformed into rows of Eternal Night sword qi and surged toward Yi Zhaoxian. In the eyes of others, his current actions were no different from crazy. But was he really crazy? Clang. Of course not. He was able to survive from that catastrophe until now not only because he was lucky but also because he knew how to endure silently. His attack this time had been carefully calculated. Most importantly, being the strongest person in the great upper world for thousands of years had indeed made him arrogant, and his mentality had changed. He did not want to continue enduring silently, and he did not want to be a non-existent foil. He wanted to release his own light of darkness. Thus this time, the 7 treasures had given Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian 10 saint souls to deal with Qin Nan. If Yi Zhaoxian wanted to use the saint souls of heaven and earth to deal with him, Tsang would definitely not allow it. No, with the threat of the saint souls of heaven and earth, only Yi Zhaoxian was left. Yi Zhaoxian was a Tao End Realm Heavenly Venerable and had cultivated an Emperor Realm cultivation technique and divine ability. She was indeed extraordinary and was far from what he could compare to. However, Yi Zhaoxian had exhausted more than half of her strength in the battle, and he was still at his peak. Moreover, he had seized the opportunity to sneak up on Yi Zhaoxian and weakened her a lot. This gave him hope. Also yes, he attacked Yi Zhaoxian not only to show off and vent his anger. He also coveted some things on Yi Zhaoxian. He had to kill Yi Zhaoxian to get them. In the end, there was no friendship between Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian at all. They were only using each other. If he killed Yi Zhaoxian, Tsang would definitely not seek revenge for Yi Zhaoxian. Even more so, it was possible to say that with the death of Yi Zhaoxian, Tsang's position with the 7 great treasures would rise, and they would not make a move against him. Ha ha, old dog Yi, look at how annoying you are. The heaven-reaching Tao tree burst out laughing. Eternal Night, I'll make an exception and help you today. The celestial tree pushed back a saint soul of heaven and earth in front of him. It turned into a dazzling green light and charged towards Yi Zhaoxian. Yongyi, remember this. I'll kill you in the future. No matter who it is, as long as they help Qin Nan, I'll kill them. Tsang snorted coldly. He looked at Qin Nan and the others and continued to kill Qin Nan. On the other side, Huang Fuju was shocked by Tsang's gaze. Now Tsang was really getting more and more terrifying. Just a gaze made Huang Fuju feel like he was going to be completely seen through. Huang Fuju calmed his emotions very quickly and thought in his heart, I didn't expect that even a coward like Yongyi would dare to participate in such a big matter. However, I can't be anxious. I can't be as reckless as him. I have to grab the best opportunity. Only then can I obtain the greatest benefit. Huang Fuju moved. He quietly took out a Buddha wood mallet and smashed it towards the back of heavenly venerate Huang Yun's head. Boom. Boom, boom. Waves of terrifying fluctuations continuously surged out in all directions. Boom. With the help of the celestial tree, heavenly venerate Yong Yi advanced triumphantly, practically suppressing Yi Zhaoxian. This made the anger in Yi Zhaoxian's chest burn more and more. Emperor on the other side, Huang Fuju gradually revealed his terrifying strength. Heavenly Venerate Huang Yun, Heavenly Venerate Lu Fang, and the other old powerhouses weren't his match at all. Qin Nan, Patriarch Ling Huang, and Princess Miao Miao were completely suppressed by Tsang He's 10 saint souls of the heavens and earth. Because for progenitor Ling Huang, Princess Miao Miao, and the others, they could barely handle 2 sacred souls of the heavens and earth. As such, Qin Nan had to face Tsang and the 8 sacred souls of the heavens and earth on his own. Although the great art of heaven was heaven-defying, it had only been used for 10 years. If the great art of heaven had been used for hundreds of years, Qin Nan would have a chance of turning the situation around by himself. Qin Nan was very clear about this, but he didn't think too much about it. If he couldn't use the blade in his hand to create a path of hope, he would chop off the enemy's arms and cause them to suffer heavy losses. Time passed bit by bit. Finally, the celestial tree, Heavenly Venerate Yong Yi, and Heavenly Venerate Huang Yun emitted a mysterious aura one after another, causing the murderous atmosphere to decrease significantly. The entire mountain peak became extraordinary, as if an auspicious sign was about to be born. Just even the 6th arch-divine sources began to vibrate slightly, as if they were very happy. The 3 of them had touched the threshold without any mystery. The celestial tree and Heavenly Venerate Yong Yi had accumulated for more than 10,000 years. Heavenly Venerate Huang Yun was also a talented female immortal who had been in the Heaven Venerate realm for a few thousand years. Meanwhile, a figure appeared at the foot of the mountain and flew up elegantly. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 2695. Not long after, on the peak of the mountain. Spacetime Soul Refining Array. As Yi Zhaoxian dodged the terrifying attack of the celestial tree, she pressed her palm into the void. Lines of runes immediately spread out, and spacetime stone tablets descended one after another, forming a large array. Yi Zhaoxian used the spacetime technique again, immediately causing each of his divine powers to glow with astonishing power. Yi Zhaoxian, this is all you've got. Now I'll show you my strongest move. Eternal Night Heavenly Venerate laughed sinisterly. He actually withdrew the Dharma treasure that he had just struck out, and took out a damaged black Gragon flagpole. This black Gragon flagpole was also a treasure in the Blue Dome, which Eternal Night Heavenly Venerate had obtained by chance a few thousand years ago in the mysterious realm under the Blue Dome. Compared to the Dharma treasure that Eternal Night Heavenly Venerate had just struck out, this black Gragon flagpole was obviously much weaker. Not only was it damaged, but the aura that it exuded was also far inferior to the former. However, when Eternal Night Heavenly Venerate infused the power in his body into the black Gragon flagpole, a shocking scene occurred. Numerous black Gragon figures emerged from the flagpole, roaring at the sky, and their auras were like rainbows. Not only that, Eternal Night Heavenly Venerate's aura began to surge, and the dark power that he released began to multiply, completely drowning out Yi Zhaoxian's spacetime technique. It was as if Eternal Night Heavenly Venerate and the black Gragon flagpole were born from the same source. As long as they came into contact with each other, the power of the person and the treasure could fuse together, completely indistinguishable from each other. Light no longer exists, darkness forever. Eternal Night Heavenly Venerate threw out the black Gragon flagpole. The moment it left his hand, it transformed into an incomparably huge dark domain, attacking Yi Zhaoxian. It was as if an ancient black Gragon had opened its pitch-black mouth, wanting to completely devour Yi Zhaoxian. Devouring and completely assimilating into it. Yi Zhaoxian was livid. He had never expected that an ant like Eternal Night Heavenly Venerable would actually obtain such a miraculous artifact. The power of this attack had far surpassed that of his own Heavenly Venerate, making him feel great danger. Holy Light Technique. Yi Zhaoxian reacted extremely quickly. She circulated her Emperor-level cultivation technique and unleashed her Emperor-level mystical ability. However, the Emperor mystical ability did not land on Eternal Night Heavenly Venerate. Instead, it landed on him, causing the layers of sacred light to fall down. It was as if the vast Great Tao had draped him in a holy robe. Emperor-level skills were profound and could be used for both offense and defense. I'm not done yet. Eternal Night Heavenly Venerable roared and spat out a drop of blood. This drop of blood was different from ordinary drop. It was black, and it was the kind of black that made people feel extreme, as if it contained endless power of darkness. In the blue dome, he had once accidentally ingested a unique spiritual medicine. Not long after, a drop of blood like this condensed in his body. It possessed an extremely terrifying power of darkness. It was his greatest trump card. He did not use it even when he was facing the army of eternity, as he had yet to find the special spiritual medicine after spending a lot of time. It was unlikely that the mysterious black blood would ever be produced again. Yi Zhaoxian's eyes widened. She executed her move again. Song, who was fighting against Qin Nan and the others, could not help but cast his gaze toward them. Bang! The sacred robes shattered one after another. Terrifying ripples surged in all directions. Not far away, Ancestor Mingqiu, Ancestor Linghuang, and the others used the ripples to attack the sacred soul of the heavens and earth. Puff! Yi Zhaoxian once again spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire complexion turned pale. He managed to block Eternal Night Heaven Highness' attack in the end, but his injuries had worsened. A few dozen of his bones were shattered. Wisps of darkness invaded his body and wreaked havoc. That was... A thought appeared in Song's mind, but at this moment, a brilliant green light suddenly appeared in Song's eyes. It was the celestial tree's move. He transformed into his human form and held a crystalline branch. The branch turned into a brilliant ray and stabbed at Song's forehead. The celestial tree had decided to help Eternal Night Heaven Highness to deal with Yi Zhaoxian. First, he was trying to aggravate Yi Zhaoxian's injuries. Second, he was trying to distract himself from Song's attention so he could find a suitable opportunity to ambush him. Bang! The celestial tree's eyes widened following a loud crash. The mystical branch did hit Song's forehead, but a purple mirror around the size of a palm appeared and blocked the attack. How cunning, even I fell for it. Song wore an impressed smile. Watch out! Qin Nan was startled. He was about to attack Song, but the sacred souls of the heavens and earth were watching him closely. As soon as he made his move, the sacred souls of the heavens and earth threw punches at him and blocked his path. Stop! In the nick of time, Song performed a hand seal with the heaven-shrouding hand and slapped at the celestial tree's chest. Heaven-shrouding seal! Bang! A great force burst out of Song's hand and landed on the celestial tree's chest like a peerless tide. The latter let out a muffled groan and was sent flying. Numerous wounds appeared on his body. In order to seize the opportunity, Song did not use too much power in his attack. However, the heaven-reaching Tao tree was already heavily injured. It was on the verge of shattering after being hit by Song's attack. It did not have much strength left. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 2696. Qin Nan, you should be more concerned about yourself. Song moved like a peerless immortal sword, following the punches of the saint souls of the heavens and earth. Sing Shu, DT, Heaven Monarch Sword Art. Song performed a hand seal with the heaven-shrouding hand. The 33 Heaven Emperor orbs transformed into giant golden swords as if they had been granted a new life. They slashed at Qin Nan with formidable sword intent. Immortal Emperor Will. Song did not stop after executing the first move. He executed another move. The tips of his fingers were cut open, with blood pouring out from them. He then used his finger as a brush and wrote a blood talisman. A terrifying aura surged across the rift as an illusionary giant hand grabbed at Qin Nan as if it had traveled a great distance. Qin Nan's eyes widened. He immediately tossed the heaven-shattering saber forward. The saber executed various saber arts on its own as if it was controlled by a deity. Its overwhelming saber intent destroyed the Heaven Monarch's sword intent and blocked the punches. It blocked the Heaven Monarch's sword intent. Qin Nan leapt into the air and clenched his left hand into a fist as he threw it forward. The destructive force instantly shattered the illusionary hand into pieces. Meanwhile, the three saint souls of the heavens and earth threw another punch at Qin Nan from his left and right. Their formidable punches were like the roars of ancient godly dragons. Qin Nan lowered his body and performed a hand seal, unleashing a strong sacred demon intent. However, the series of attacks were too many. Even with Qin Nan's outstanding strength and outstanding speed, it was impossible for him to destroy them all and dodge them all. As such, Qin Nan did not have the time to react to one of the attacks, allowing him to take them all. The punch landed on his body. Bang! Qin Nan spat out a mouthful of sacred blood as he was knocked backward. Even though his flesh had improved after executing the heaven-fighting grand art, he was still injured after taking the blow. However, Qin Nan was not affected by the injury. He used the momentum to grab the heaven-shattering saber once again. His figure turned into a series of afterimages as he unleashed thousands of saber intents within the blink of an eye, as if the ground was being torn apart. A great storm was brewing. Song controlled the 33 Heaven Monarch swords while cooperating with the saint souls of the heavens and earth to fight Qin Nan head-on. He executed several emperor-level arts. All of a sudden, Song unleashed another divine ability after unleashing a divine ability. Eyes of the immortal emperor. Countless golden threads appeared in his eyes, forming a mysterious formation. A shocking power of the eye was released, directly attacking great ancestor Mingqiu and the others who were not far away. He would occasionally have some free time while he was fighting Qin Nan. He did not want to waste it. Kill! Ancestor Mingqiu and the others activated their artifacts and executed forbidden arts. The celestial tree rose to its feet and used the remaining power in its body to activate the artifact it had obtained. It would only fall when it was dead. Bang bang bang! Ancestor Mingqiu and the others were the first to take the brunt of the attack. They spat out mouthfuls of blood as their injuries worsened. It could not be helped. They were already at their limit dealing with one or two saint souls of the heavens and earth. They were unable to nullify Tsong's occasional attack. Time gradually passed. In the midst of the explosions, Qin Nan's powerful flesh was enduring more and more attacks. More wounds were inflicted on him. He was bleeding sacred blood all the time, which splattered across the sky and landed on the ground like flowers. Ancestor Mingqiu and the others were in the same situation as Qin Nan. Unlike Qin Nan, when they were injured, their strength did not increase instead of decreasing. Instead, their strength gradually weakened. Like calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2697. At that moment in Huang Fuju's powerful divine consciousness, Eternal Knight Empyrean was like a peerless god. His willpower was high and he was in high spirits. He struck out with one divine ability after another, beating Yi Zhaoxian to the point of repeatedly vomiting blood and retreating in defeat. What a disgrace! A thought flashed across Huang Fuju's mind. The celestial tree, ancestor Mingqiu, and the others were locked in a fierce battle with a saint soul of the heavens and earth. Although the battle did not cause a huge disturbance, Huang Fuju and the others still acknowledged it. They were even a little jealous of Qin Nan. He was like Zhou Di in his previous life. He always had a group of people around him, unlike Huang Fuju who only had Mo Xie. Huang Fuju only glanced at the two battles and did not pay much attention to them. Most of his attention was still focused on the battle between Tsang and Qin Nan. It was not only because he was plotting something, but because the battle between Tsang and Qin Nan was very attractive to him. Although Tsang and the 9 saint souls of the heavens and earth were almost suppressing Qin Nan's every slash, punch, and art contained unparalleled power. If Huang Fuju were to face Qin Nan alone, he would definitely die. Tsang is still so cunning. Even if he has the upper hand, he is still scheming. He will not miss any opportunity. Huang Fuju thought. That was one of the scariest things about Tsang. Although the 9 saint souls of the heavens and earth did not have any intelligence and only knew how to attack with punches and kicks, Tsang walked among the 9 saint souls of the heavens and earth and used the 33 heavenly emperor swords to attack with emperor-level superpowers. The attacks of the 9 saint souls of the heavens and earth became more agile. The longer Huang Fuju stared at it, the more he felt like Tsang and the 9 sacred souls of the heavens and earth had formed a giant net, trapping Qin Nan tightly. After some time, Qin Nan threw out a mystical mountain and blocked the 9 saint souls of the heavens and earth's punches. Tsang instantly grasped the perfect opportunity. He formed a seal, and the 33 heavenly emperor swords merged into one and turned into a peerless divine light. Blood sprayed out from Qin Nan's back. Qin Nan let out a battle cry and charged at Tsang. Tsang was no longer afraid of Qin Nan, and he faced Qin Nan head-on. The saint souls surrounded Qin Nan again, and they launched punches and kicks at Tsang. Huang Fuju noticed that unknowingly, Qin Nan had already become a bloody person, and his entire body was riddled with injuries. Logically speaking, when a cultivator reached this stage, especially one who had cultivated a devil art to the grand completion stage, they should be close to a deranged state with monstrous killing intent. But Qin Nan didn't. Amidst the blood, he burst forth with an increasingly high fighting spirit, as well as an unyielding will. However, the more it was like this, the more Huang Fuju felt an inexplicable sense of sadness in his heart. The battle situation had not been reversed, and Qin Nan was about to fall. This kid is really something. If I hadn't comprehended the immortality intent and was reborn, it wouldn't be a disgrace to let this kid inherit my legacy, Huang Fuju thought to himself. Damn it, let's not think about this nonsense. The time is almost here. Huang Fuju shook his head, and a bloody glow appeared in his eyes. He could sense that the various injuries that Qin Nan had suffered were about to gather and unleash their power. As expected, after 100 breaths, Tsang used the power of the 9 saint souls to launch a sneak attack on Qin Nan again. He threw a punch at Qin Nan's chest, and Qin Nan was knocked back. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Qin Nan was severely injured. Here's my chance. The bloody glow in Huang Fuju's eyes grew brighter. He did not plan to launch a sneak attack on Qin Nan, let alone Tsang or Yi Zhaoxian. He planned to use this opportunity to negotiate with Qin Nan. He had done his research on Qin Nan and knew that he was a righteous man. Would Qin Nan allow his seniors and his lover to die for him at such a crucial moment? Qin Nan would definitely not be willing. Therefore, he wanted to tell Qin Nan that as long as Qin Nan took the initiative to hand over the Square Heaven Ancient Lamp, the 33 Heaven's Saint Ruler Talisman, the secret forbidden skill, and the mysterious space-time technique, he would protect the lives of the ancestor of Ming Chu and the others. Although Tsang also wanted these things, Qin Nan would definitely not be willing to give them to Huang Fuju. Of course, if he did that, he would definitely expose himself and offend Tsang, but so what? Tsang no longer had the strength to eliminate him. Once he achieved the Supreme Highness realm, he could still rely on the 7 great artifacts. After all, he did not have the vast dragon-proof seal, thus the artifacts would not oppose him. If I have the forbidden art and the space-time technique, Tsang will be nothing to me. I will be the strongest cultivator in the primary upper realm. Huang Fuju's sorrow toward Qin Nan dissipated. He was only left with excitement. He took a deep breath and executed the art of the immortal demon in his body. He transmitted his voice to Qin Nan. Qin Nan, I'm the immortal demon Highness. After you refined my flesh, I've recovered from the demonic path. There's no need to be surprised. You can easily sense my true identity. I'm telling you now, I'll give you. Song's eyes flickered as he was about to transmit his voice. It was the perfect opportunity. Song executed a forbidden art. The sword intent of the Celestial Emperor's sword in his hand skyrocketed. Wisps of magnificent sword intent surged in all directions like a storm. This was his strongest sword strike. Qin Nan, you will die here today, Song yelled. He merged with his sword and turned into a peerless sword glow. As Qin Nan was nullifying the attacks of the 9 sacred souls of the heavens and earth, he dashed forward and stabbed at Qin Nan's head. Qin Nan. The eyes of the celestial tree, Mingqiu progenitor, Ling Wang progenitor, Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Shui Mengyao widened. Is it going to end soon? Heaven Highness Huang Yun, Heaven Highness Lu Fang, and the others looked toward Qin Nan when they sensed how terrifying the attack was. At that instant it felt like time had frozen. Everything slowed down. The demonic voice echoed in Qin Nan's mind. His heart was filled with a great sense of danger. He let out a roar into the sky and unleashed all his power into the heaven-shattering saber. No matter how terrifying the situation was, no matter how terrifying the attack was, his saber would surely slash through it. However, no one would have thought that at this critical moment, the situation would turn out like this. Bang! The rift above Qin Nan shattered as a figure descended from it. He swung the giant hammer in his hand and slammed it onto Tsang's sword, shattering the sword intent into pieces. The remaining shockwave was still lingering in the air. The aftershock knocked Tsang back. The figure landed on the ground with a hammer in hand. His entire body was emitting a monstrous aura that shook the surroundings. How bold of you! Do you think you can kill my brother so easily? Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2698. A thunderous voice echoed throughout the entire mountain peak, clearly reaching everyone's ears. Everyone's faces were filled with shock and astonishment. Who? They did not expect that at this critical moment, someone would suddenly come to help Qin Nan. They had to. Given the current situation, helping Qin Nan was no different from courting death. Could it be? Ancestor Mingqiu and the other two, as well as Princess Miao Miao and the other two, thought of the letter they received on the Undying Cycle Mountain at the same time, and their minds were immediately shaken. The overall situation was not settled yet. There was still a chance. You are. Celestial Tree looked at the exceptionally familiar figure and suddenly thought of something. Her turbid eyes lit up as she said, Are you a fellow Taoist? Earth laughed and said, Fellow Taoist Tongtian, you're in a sorry state right now. Let me help you. He flicked his finger, and several resplendent rays of light were released, quickly entering the bodies of Celestial Tree, Ancestor Mingqiu, and the others. Tong Celestial Tree, Ancestor Mingqiu, and the others only felt an incomparably majestic and pure energy instantly seeping into their limbs and bones, causing their bodies to begin to recover, and the strength in their bodies began to recover. Qin Nan looked at the unfamiliar yet inexplicably familiar figure and was stunned. He subconsciously said, Senior Earth? He really did not expect that mysterious Senior Earth would actually appear at this time to help him. At this moment, Song steadied himself. He looked at the figure in front of him, and his expression immediately turned cold. Ji Xian, isn't it good to live like that? Why did you have to come here to die? As soon as these words were spoken, Qin Nan's body and mind trembled violently. Did he hear wrongly? Song called this Senior Earth Ji Xian? You are Ji Xian? Nan could not help but ask, his voice trembling slightly. Even when faced with such a situation before, he had not lost his composure like this. The figure turned around, and a familiar face appeared in front of Qin Nan's eyes. It was Ji Xian, who had always been unreliable in fortune-telling, whom he had befriended when his soul returned to the ancient times. Jia's smile appeared on Xian's face. She transmitted her voice, "Brother Lin, long time no see. After a separation of 10,000 years, we finally meet again." Ha ha ha! Qin Nan came to his senses and couldn't help laughing at the sky. The joy in his heart was hard to describe with words. Song, seeing this, the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile as he said, "Qin Nan, aren't you celebrating a little too early? Ji Xian is just a celestial venerable. Even if you have his help, it won't change the outcome at all. It will only delay your death by a little." In the distance, Feng Ruyu heard this and couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Qin Nan's popularity is really good. People have come to help him one after another, but what Song said is right, this won't change the outcome. However, right at this moment, Ji Xian waved his hand, and the dark golden sledgehammer floated above his head. His entire body seemed to have been unsealed, and the aura he emitted began to skyrocket. An astonishing pressure spread out from his body, causing many people's pupils to constrict violently. Unrivaled realm, heavenly venerable. How could he still be an ordinary Heaven Highness after so many years? If the light of time and space had not shattered, forcing him to awaken the mountain of origin in advance, he would have become a Supreme Highness by now. However, that was not the end of it. Ji Xian performed a hand seal with a single hand. 8 different immortal rays burst out of his body and turned into 8 artifacts floating in the air. There was a saber, a spear, a book, etc. Including the dark golden hammer, there were a total of 9 treasures. Even though the 9 artifacts were more or less incomplete, their auras were quite shocking. They were on par with the square heaven ancient lamp. Holy crap! Feng Ruyu's eyes widened. He immediately cursed. Not only was the kid strong, he also had such a strong foundation. "How do you feel now, my good brother?" Ji Xian said. Ji Xian glanced at Song with a disdainful tone. "Ji Xian, you've improved a lot after so long. You managed to fool me just then." Song wore a cold grin. He said, "However, if you think that's enough to turn the situation around, I'm very disappointed." Ji Xian shrugged and said, "Why would that be? I've been hiding for almost 10,000 years. It's my first official appearance. Wouldn't it be embarrassing if this is all I have?" Ji Xian performed a hand seal with a single hand. An invisible ripple burst out of his body. Release. Colorful runes appeared all over Ji Xian's body. They shattered on their own as if they had just received a heavy blow. They fell to the ground with a whoosh. When the last rune fell to the ground, a crimson glow like a flame flickered on Ji Xian's body. It was as if he had undergone a great transformation. His aura and presence were completely different from before. Previously, he only gave off a strong and imperious aura, but now it was as if he had transcended the mundane world, or even the world itself. He had reached a new level that no one had ever seen before. At this moment, everyone present immediately felt a great sense of oppression. Moreover, it was completely different from the oppression they had experienced before. This oppression came from their souls. Song's expression changed. He blurted out, "One of the 100 great godly physiques, the heavenly artifact physique. Wonderful book house." Chapter 2699. Most of the giants on the mountain peak were a little confused. What were the 100 great divine bodies? What was the heavenly treasure divine body? Divine body! Qin Nan's eyes flashed. Ji Xian's talent was indeed extraordinary. Damn! This person actually awakened a divine body. Feng Ruyu's mind was completely excited. If Ji Xian was merely an ultimate Tao heavenly venerable who had mastered 9 Dharma treasures, Fang Ruyu would only feel a glimmer of hope, but now it was completely different. In the universe, there were 10 innate constitutions and 100 divine constitutions. No matter which one it was, once they were awakened, they would be reborn and gain unparalleled special abilities. They would be protected by the great fortune of heaven and earth, and would be able to fight across realms. Next. Moreover, when Fang Ruyu followed the Master of the Blue Dome, he had also heard rumors about the heavenly treasure divine body. Although Fang Ruyu wasn't very clear about the specific abilities of the heavenly treasure godly body, he knew that the heavenly treasure godly body had a great relationship with treasures. If such a godly body had many treasures in its hands, it would be able to burst out with powerful divine might. Obviously, this young man called Ji Xian had long been prepared. You know about the heavenly treasure divine body? It seems that you made the 7 great treasures very comfortable and told you a lot of things, Ji Xian said. As expected of my younger brother, your talent is indeed great. You can awaken a divine body with your own strength. Song came back to his senses and directly ignored Ji Xian's tone. He said with admiration, "In that case, I'm willing to make an exception and give you a chance. As long as you stop now and don't help Qin Nan, I'll let bygones be bygones and send you to the universe." Song paused for a moment, then said, "Ji Xian, don't forget what your parents said before they died. They hoped that you could bring glory to the Ji family and make it immortal." Ji Xian laughed with some disdain. After so many years, this brother of his really had not changed at all. As long as he was useful, he could say any nonsense. Ji Xian ignored Song's words and directly sent a voice transmission to Qin Nan, saying, "Little brother, now is not a good time to catch up. If there's anything you want to say, let's wait until it's over." Qin Nan raised his saber. The saber trembled and the sabers will dissipated. Very good. Song couldn't help but shake his head when he witnessed this scene, and he said, "Looks like you've misunderstood me. But it doesn't matter. Even if you awaken the divine body, you won't be able to change today's outcome. When this matter is over, I will have a good talk with you." Ji Xian's appearance this time caused him to have many doubts in his heart. For example, why did Ji Xian and Qin Nan seem to have such a deep friendship? How did Ji Xian awaken his divine body? What exactly was Ji Xian plotting after enduring for more than 10,000 years? However, there was no hurry to solve these problems. Whoosh! Song moved. The celestial emperor's sword in his hand gave off a dazzling sword essence. The remaining 10 saint souls of heaven and earth also began to move. Their bodies swayed as they threw out punch after punch, shaking the surroundings. Kill! Celestial Tree and the others recovered a lot of their primordial chi, and their auras rose. Picture of all beings. Ji Xian made his move. As he threw out a palm strike, countless formation runes appeared in the void, forming an illusory picture that enveloped the 10 saint souls of heaven and earth. Whoosh! 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 All kinds of mountains flew out from the picture and suppressed the saint souls of heaven and earth. After the saint souls of heaven and earth shattered the mountains, new mountains immediately appeared, as if there was no end to them. For a moment, the 10 saint souls of heaven and earth were suppressed on the spot, unable to move much. Song, I have one last big gift for you today. Ji Xian formed a hand seal, and 9 mysterious runes rushed out from his body and quickly entered 9 different Dharma treasures. The Dharma treasures' auras suddenly skyrocketed, and their bodies were coated with a layer of crimson light. Then, 9 figures appeared one after another from the Dharma treasures. There were men and women, old and young. It's them. Fang Ruyu was slightly stunned. He recognized a few of them. They were the artifact spirits of the Dharma treasures. Are these 9 Dharma treasures your trump card? Unfortunately, not only are they broken, but they are also bound by the rules of the Blue Dome. Even if you have the divine treasure body, you can't use much of their power. Song was not flustered at all. Haha, you know a lot, kid. But do you know that with the help of the divine treasure body, we can break the rules and self-destruct? A burly elder among the 9 figures laughed, showing his heroic spirit, and said, "We are old men. Not only are we broken, but our origin is also damaged. If it weren't for Ji Xian's divine treasure body, we would have turned into dust. Since that's the case, we have to use our remaining power at the last moment. You 2 young men stay to help Ji Xian. We will go first." Another stern-looking elder said, "Song, if you don't die today, remember to tell them that traitors will not have a good ending." A middle-aged man glared angrily, his eyes wide open. "Qin Nan, say hello to Brother Wu Di for me. Don't forget. Who the F***ck is an old man. I'm still a young girl. Traitors, I'll be waiting for you down there." "You talk too much." The 9 figures spoke one after another. Some of their words were connected, while others were talking to themselves. It was a mess. However, there were 7 figures among them that did the same thing. Their bodies began to burn fiercely. Even their Dharma treasures were burning fiercely. An extremely powerful aura began to be released. Then, like 7 brilliant meteors, they collided with the saint souls of heaven and earth. Although they were different Dharma treasures, they had the same title, loyal ministers. Ji Xian, kid, thank you. For loyal subjects like them, the greatest sorrow was to die silently without being able to help their master in the slightest. However, they had met Ji Xian and his divine treasure body. Now they could finally release their last light. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2700. In the blink of an eye. Song, seeing this, his expression changed and he quickly retreated. Almost as soon as he retreated, the 7 Dharma treasures collided with the saint souls of heaven and earth and exploded completely. Boom, boom, boom. A series of deafening explosions rang out as 7 terrifying forces wreaked havoc in Ji Xian's all-beings portrait, causing the entire mountain peak to tremble. Although the 7 Dharma treasures had been severely damaged by the rebellion of the Donghuang Great Void Chain and the other supreme treasures, their current power was less than 1% of their peak. Moreover, the divine treasure body that activated them was only at the level of a celestial master. However, the power of their self-explosion was still extremely powerful, far surpassing the level of a celestial master. If the all-beings portrait had not acted as a shield, the turbulent aftermath alone would have been extremely powerful. Ordinary celestial masters would not have been able to withstand it. A while later, Qin Nan and the others soon sensed that the 5 sacred souls of the heavens and earth were crushed into pieces by the terrifying force. Not a single trace of them was left. The remaining saint souls of heaven and earth had been severely injured, and half of their bodies had been destroyed. However, they quickly recovered and were not seriously injured. Boom! Song and Yi Zhaoxian's chests exploded, as if they had been attacked by an invisible force. The saint souls of heaven and earth had been refined by the 2 of them. Now that the 5 saint souls of heaven and earth had been directly destroyed, they would naturally be implicated. Song was not affected, but Yi Zhaoxian was different. He spat out another mouthful of blood. His originally pale face became even paler. Yi Zhaoxian shouted. Zhao Xian's entire body was trembling out of anger. Ever since he had stepped into the sovereign realm, he had never suffered such humiliation like today. Song's face also became somewhat gloomy. He had underestimated the divine treasure body and the madness of these treasures. This it could indeed be considered a great gift. They actually destroyed 5 saint souls of heaven and earth in one go. These old fellows are simply too awesome. Fang Yu exclaimed. Ru Yu was completely excited. She kept clapping and cheering. Not only him, but the celestial tree, ancestor Mingqiu, and Princess Miao Miao were also delighted. In that case, only the 5 saint souls of heaven and earth, Song, and Yi Zhaoxian were left. Such as today, Ji Xian had helped them recover a lot, so it was more than enough for them to hold back a saint's soul of the heavens and earth. Yi Immortal Zhao was being targeted by Eternal Night Empyrean. She couldn't even protect herself. That, in other words, the only enemies left were Tsang and the 4 saint souls. With such a lineup, how could they possibly kill Qin Nan and Ji Xian? The situation has been completely reversed. Celestial Venerable Yun and Celestial Venerable Lu Fang were shocked. No one would have thought that the almost certain winning situation would be turned around just like that. These old guys. Ji Xian shook his head. Then, he shouted, "Little brother, let's fight together. We can't let down the 7 seniors." Qin Nan soared into the sky and slashed at Tsang's figure. His saber will swept across the entire mountain peak. Tsang's expression quickly returned to normal. His figure changed, and he slashed out sword energy that filled the sky. Tong. The celestial Tao tree and the rest moved to hold back a saint's soul of the heavens and earth. The remaining 4 weren't affected by the situation just now. They didn't realize that they had lost 5 Taoists. They continued to unleash shocking punches. Celestial Treasure Divine Body. Ji Xian's body emitted crimson divine light as he activated the remaining 2 treasures. Every single one of the treasures unleashed a terrifying divine might, shattering the fist aura into pieces. Boom! Boom! Qin Nan descended from the sky and shattered Tsang's sword intense with a single slash. He then landed on Tsang's Heaven Emperor sword. The latter groaned in pain and was knocked back by the slash. Qin Nan let go of the saber hilt and punched again. A Saint Devil Mountain appeared and suppressed the 2 saint souls. They knelt on the mountain rocks and couldn't raise their heads. Ji Xian also displayed his unparalleled battle prowess. With the help of his celestial treasure physique, not only did the 2 treasures unleash astonishing might, but they also seemed to have become Ji Xian's left and right arms. They allowed Ji Xian to use them as he wished, forcing the 2 saint souls to retreat. Ji Xian, after reuniting after 10,000 years, they had once again displayed their shocking strength. Now not only had the tables turned, Song and the others were completely suppressed. It was a potential danger. Whoosh! The crimson divine light on Ji Xian's body suddenly grew stronger. In addition to it, a mystical aura burst out of his body and loomed over the mountain peak. It overlapped with the mystical auras from before. Ji Xian had reached the threshold of breaking through to the Supreme Highness realm in less than 10 breaths' time. This was mainly because the foundation he had accumulated was too deep. When they had entered the space-time light together, the spirit of the celestial pole roll had bestowed upon him a great opportunity. Although he had not been able to break through to the Supreme Heavenly Venerate at that time, he had also glimpsed the mysteries of the Supreme Heavenly Venerate. Although he had been enduring for 10,000 years, he had also been polishing his divine abilities, body, soul, and so on. Everything had reached the pinnacle. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2701. Meanwhile, on the other side of the mountain, Huang Fuju wore an unpleasant look when he saw Ji Xian's transformation. He almost turned into a black-faced Buddha. Apart from Song and Yi Zhaoxian, Huang Fuju was not fond of Ji Xian either. If he was not worried that he might not be able to defeat the little Ash *****, he would surely beat the crap out of Ji Xian. He had been holding back since he was reincarnated. Firstly, he was trying to strengthen himself. Secondly, he was trying to secure the greatest benefits at a crucial moment. He finally had the chance, but Ji Xian showed up as soon as he spoke. Didn't the little Ash ***** know to come later? Or should he come earlier? Now, not only did he fail to obtain Qin Nan's forbidden art, the art of space-time, etc., he had exposed his identity to Qin Nan without receiving any benefits. No one with the surname Ji is a good person. I must settle the score with them later. Huang Fuju cursed in his heart. He made up his mind. Sigh, speaking of which, at this rate Qin Nan, Tsang, and the others will most likely achieve the Supreme Highness realm. No one is going to die. Now that Qin Nan knows my identity, he will surely blackmail me. Otherwise, I'll tell Tsang and the others. Huang Fuju let out a sigh. He hoped that Qin Nan would not ask for too much. Otherwise, his patience would be in vain. Bang bang bang! The battle at the top of the mountain grew even more intense. The Heaven Highnesses who had yet to reach the top of the mountain could clearly sense the energy ripples coming from the top of the mountain growing stronger. Time gradually passed. Around 3 hours later, suddenly, a wisp of aura burst out from Qin Nan, Ji Xian, and Tsang's bodies. It soared into the sky like a sharp sword. A shocking scene took place. 10-clawed thunder dragons that were over 10,000 feet long appeared one after another. They moved through the clouds and let out deep roars. Furthermore, these thunder dragons were different from ordinary thunder dragons. Their bodies were 9-colored, giving people a dreamy and unreal feeling. Apart from that, every giant on the mountain peak was keenly aware that the mysterious aura that enveloped the entire mountain peak had suddenly decreased significantly. At the same time, 3 faintly discernible auras were unleashed, causing them to tremble with fear. 9-colored lightning dragon, supreme might. F***CK. It won't take long for these 3 guys to become supreme heavenly venerates. Huang Fuju's eyelids twitched, and he began to focus on the opponents before him. He had to keep up with the pace and not fall too far behind. Good. Qin Nan, keep it up. Feng Ruyu, Celestial Tree, and the others were overjoyed and worked even harder. At the same time, the change in this strange phenomenon caused great waves in the heart of a giant who had existed for thousands of years on the mountain peak. This big shot was the current patriarch of the tribe of immortal spirits, Heavenly Venerate Lu Feng. He glanced at Qin Nan, Ji Xian, and Tsang with a dark expression. He had yet to reach the threshold of becoming a supreme heavenly venerate, thus he had yet to unleash his aura. If I can't follow Qin Nan and the others and become a supreme heavenly venerates, I won't have a second chance. Lu Feng's heart sank as he thought about it. If he failed to become a supreme heavenly venerate this time, he had no idea how long he would have to wait for the next chance. Besides, the situation was very clear. Qin Nan and the others would surely break through to the supreme heavenly venerate realm. The prosperity of the primary upper realm in the past would reappear. It also implied that a great turmoil would sweep across the entire primary upper realm. No one would be able to stay out of it. The peak heavenly venerate realm is still very strong. It's still at the top. However, when the time comes, even a heavenly venerate would only be cannon fodder. Heavenly venerate Lu Feng's eyes glowed slightly. Besides that, there was another important point. Heavenly venerate Lu Feng had always believed that cultivators should fight with all their might. Only by fighting continuously could they go against the current and step into a higher realm. When the battlefield of divine aura had first opened, he had been able to step into the heavenly venerate realm because he had fought fiercely. This time I will still fight. Heavenly venerate Lu Feng gradually made up his mind. Not only would he fight, but he would also fight with his life on the line. He would fight with all his might. Heavenly venerate Lu Feng formed hand seals as his aura began to rise. His gaze was fixed on a Buddhist ancestor who was fighting with heavenly venerate Huang Yun. Life burn. As a clan blessed by heaven and earth, heavenly venerate Lu Feng was born with a long lifespan and mastered such a forbidden technique. However, the only difference between him and the celestial tree was that he couldn't recover by himself after burning his lifespan. He also couldn't rely on treasures to recover. He could only break through his own cultivation base. Boom! Heavenly venerate Lu Feng's aura immediately reached a new height. Heavenly venerate Lu Feng's body shook as he formed a mystic ability and attacked the Buddhist ancestor. He would only have a glimmer of hope if he fought to the death. F***ck. Buddhist ancestor Huang Fu Ju cursed in his heart. Who had he offended? Why was this fella fighting to the death with him? Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2702. Time gradually passed. Another 4 hours were gone in the blink of an eye. On the other side, 3 more invisible auras suddenly shot straight into the sky, causing the number of dreamy 9-colored lightning dragons to increase by several times. The Celestial Tree, Eternal Night Heaven Highness, and Yi Zhaoxian were undergoing some changes too. It was only a matter of time before they achieved the Supreme Highness realm. The Celestial Tree had almost achieved the Supreme Highness realm during the ancient times. It would not be a problem for her to achieve the Supreme Highness realm after 10,000 years of accumulation. Even though Eternal Night Heaven Highness was incomparable to the Celestial Tree, he had survived the Great Calamity and was the strongest cultivator in the primary upper realm for a few thousand years. He had accumulated a lot of resources. As for Yi Zhaoxian, it went without saying that he would achieve the Supreme Highness realm only a little later than Qin Nan and the others if he was not severely injured. It's this moment again, the Celestial Tree was a little stunned. Back then, he had also reached this step. However, at the final crucial moment, he was heavily injured by Yi Zhaoxian. If he did not have some life-saving methods and left the mountain peak in time, he might have even been killed. The Celestial Tree soon recovered from the shock. Everything was different now. Ming Chu, Ling Huang, and you 3 girls, I'll leave the sacred soul of the heavens and earth to you 3. You just need to hold it back for a few hours. The Celestial Tree transmitted his thoughts. His eyes sharpened immediately. His figure moved, and he instantly came to the side of Eternal Night Heavenly Lord. He raised his hand and shot out a beam of brilliant green light, which surged toward Yi Zhaoxian like a long river. The last time he attacked Yi Zhaoxian, he mainly wanted to create an opportunity to launch a sneak attack on Song. This time, he only wanted to kill Yi Zhaoxian on the spot. He must not let this person step into the realm of Supreme Celestial Venerate. Cultivator Tongtian, you've come at the right time. Eternal Night Empyrean was overjoyed. Yi Zhaoxian's foundation was too deep. She wanted to destroy him before he became a Supreme Heavenly Venerate. It would be a little difficult to kill them, but now, with the help of the Celestial Tree, their chances were much higher. Boom, boom. As more and more people attracted the lightning dragons, the battle on the mountain peak became more and more terrifying. Huang Fu Ju was getting angrier and angrier. In the beginning, Empyrean's 6 directions had lost their rationality and went all out against him. In the end, after Empyrean Eternal Night and the others attracted the lightning dragons, Empyrean Huang Yun was also stimulated and also lost his rationality and launched a killing move at him. Huang Fuju could understand the feelings of Empyreans Lu Fang and Empyrean Huang Yun. The former wanted to touch the threshold and the latter saw that he had touched the threshold but still couldn't touch the Thunder Dragon. He naturally felt a great deal of pressure and wanted to stimulate his own potential through this great battle. However, there were so many powerhouses here. Why did they all choose him? Just because he didn't have a backer, he was easier to bully? Damn it, I don't care anymore. How dare you treat me like this? Even if I have to expose my true form today, I will make you pay the price. Huang Fuju was enraged. He turned into a glaring Vajra and burned with Buddha flames. However, Empyrean Lu Fang and Empyrean Huang Yun were not moved and executed their respective killing moves. Immortal sword slashing 9 heavens. Empyrean Lu Fang shouted and used his life force to form a sword of life. He stabbed it at Huang Fuju's glabella. A vast sword intent was released from the tip of the sword. 8 layers of Divine King's seal. Empyrean Huang Yun's aura soared like a goddess. He formed a series of mysterious seals and slammed them towards Huang Fuju. Each seal contained the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Huang Fuju turned into various Buddhas and chanted hundreds of Buddhist scriptures to contend against the two. However, he was a demon venerate after all. Now that he was disguised as a Buddhist ancestor, he naturally couldn't display his full strength. Therefore, on the surface, it seemed like Huang Fuju was being suppressed by Emperor Lu Fang and Emperor Huang Yun. Buddhas and demons are of the same origin. Buddhas are demons and demons are Buddhas. Buddhas and demons are separated by a single thought. Huang Fuju couldn't care less. He used his own demonic power to counterattack. Just like that, after an unknown period of time, when Huang Fuju, Emperor Huang Yun, and Emperor Lu Fang were all injured, a mysterious aura burst out of Huang Fuju and Emperor Huang Yun's bodies. Moreover, this battle of life and death that had lasted for several hours had finally forced out Emperor Lu Fang's potential. An invisible aura was released from his body and engulfed the entire mountain peak. The threshold of becoming a supreme heavenly venerate. Emperor Lu Fang was delighted. He had hit the jackpot. Although this step had come a little late, taking this step meant that he had real hope. As long as he continued, he would have a 30% chance of becoming a supreme heavenly venerate. Good chance. Huang Fuju's eyes flashed red as he pushed the magic treasure he had obtained to its limits. The magic treasure immediately released a terrifying killing intent and transformed into hundreds of thousands of sword chi that enveloped the two of them, isolating them from the mountain peak. Emperor Lu Fang was alarmed. Without any hesitation, he threw out 10 divine talismans, which started to burn. However, in the next moment, a pitch-black demonic hand tore the divine talismans apart. A terrifying killing intent turned into a rainbow that surged into Emperor Lu Fang's heart, causing him to shiver uncontrollably. Since you are willing to risk your life, you must be prepared to lose it. A cold voice rang out, and one divine ability after another rained down. Celestial Venerate Lu Fang threw his head back and roared, using all his trump cards and divine abilities. However, fate didn't favor him again. The power of the other party was too terrifying. It was like an endless abyss, slowly swallowing him up. In the end, he clearly saw a giant hand pass through his chest and take away all his life force. Emperor Lu Fang smiled wryly. He was filled with all kinds of emotions, but there was no regret. The patriarch of the tribe of immortal spirits, Lu Fang, had fallen. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 2703. The sword chi quickly dissipated, and the scene appeared before everyone's eyes. Fellow Taoist Lu Yun Tianzuan's expression shifted slightly. He didn't expect the heavenly venerate of Buddhism to be able to kill the heavenly venerates of Lu Fang in just a few moments. Now it's your turn. Fu Ju harumphed coldly. He took a step forward and summoned a giant Buddha hand that slapped at Huang Yun. Time continued to pass. 2 hours later. Amidst the chaos, the 6 monarch god sources suddenly changed amidst a series of explosions. The 6 illusionary figures kept moving in the rock and performed hand seals. The power of the 6 monarch god sources that entered everyone's bodies immediately multiplied. In addition to that, the rare phenomenon in the sky underwent a shocking change too. Amidst the chaos, the sky within 99,999 miles with Mountain of Origin as the center turned pitch black like ink. An invisible, vast aura spread from within, causing the strange creatures on Mountain of Origin to tremble slightly. They let out deafening roars into the sky, shaking the heavens and earth. The scene was shocking. It wasn't over yet. The 9 colored lightning dragons that were swimming around seemed to have been stimulated by something. They began to fight each other. Dragon claws slapped out, dragon tails swept out, and countless 9 colored lights exploded. At that instant, the bodies of Qin Nan, Ji Xian, Song, and the others began to change too. They only felt that the illusory door that existed in the unseen world had suddenly become a lot more real. Furthermore, their wills had completely entered the door. Oni mystical force as vast as the ocean instantly filled their bodies. Their auras, their bodies, bones, blood, divine thoughts, and souls all began to transform. At this moment, they also saw that there was a straight bridge within the illusory door. It extended into the void above, as if they could see the true path as long as they walked along the bridge. This Qin Nan and the others were quite familiar with the scene. Only if their wills reached the end of the bridge, they would complete the transformation and undergo the baptism of the great tribulation of heaven and earth to become a supreme heavenly venerate. As for reaching the end of the bridge, it would only take 2 hours, or even less. In other words, the terrifying battle on the mountain peak would definitely end in 2 hours. By then, everyone would have to focus on the tribulation and wouldn't be able to continue fighting. Qin Nan and Ji Xian immediately looked at each other. Even though 10,000 years had passed, the tacit understanding between them still existed. They instantly understood each other's thoughts. Only Ji Xian's figure suddenly changed. He charged straight at Song, completely ignoring the saint soul of the universe behind him. 4 Destruction Formation. 9-fold Heavenly Water. Ji Xian fully activated the core formations of the 2 treasures. They unleashed a torrential light that shot toward firmament with terrifying might. Also at that moment, the 3 fists of heaven and earth were ferocious attacks of heaven and heaven. Qin Nan's figure suddenly appeared behind Ji Xian, emitting a sacred and demonic glow. Boom boom! Qin Nan spat out a mouthful of blood. His figure was sent flying like an arrow fired from a bow. However, to everyone's surprise, Qin Nan had purposely used the momentum to reappear above Song within the blink of an eye and slashed at him. Sword. A dazzling saber ray immediately burst out. Hunyuan mirror. Song's hair stood on end. He didn't care about anything else and used the other treasure hidden in his body. It emitted blue light like water. Boom, boom, boom. Dharma! The treasure's light dimmed and its artifact spirit fell into a deep sleep. It couldn't be used for a short period of time. Song was also hit by the remaining divine power. He spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood and his face turned pale. However, he didn't stop and didn't say anything. He executed a forbidden art and quickly escaped into the middle of the 3 saint souls of heaven and earth. At this moment, there wasn't much time left. Qin Nan and Ji Xian would definitely do everything they could to kill him, even if they had to pay a great price. Song. Qin Nan let out a roar and turned into a sharp saber glow. He shattered the fist intents of the saint souls of the heavens and earth with brute force and stabbed at Song's forehead. Ji Xian followed closely behind and activated his heavenly treasure divine body to activate the 2 treasures. He was like a peerless divine king. At the same time, on the other side, Eternal Night Sky Sovereign and the heaven-reaching Dao Tree unleashed all sorts of killing technique. Yi Zhaoxian blocked them while using all sorts of escape technique. She flashed around the mountain peak like a mouse running around with its head in its hand. Yi Zhaoxian, you're embarrassing yourself. Do you only know how to run? Where's your pride? Evernight Heavenly Master mocked. Yi Zhaoxian turned a deaf ear to him. He didn't have any thoughts of losing face right now because he was very clear about his situation. He had to hold on. Damn it. Evernight Heavenly Master's expression turned ugly. He started to feel anxious. Although he had the help of Celestial Tree, he didn't expect the latter to not have recovered from his injuries. He couldn't even use 1/3 of his combat strength. At this rate, he might not be able to kill Yi Zhaoxian in 2 hours. If that was the case, Yi Zhaoxian would become a supreme celestial master. Then, everything he had done today would be for naught. Not only would he have to face Yi Zhaoxian's revenge. Calm. Wonderful book house. Chapter 2704. Holy Body Ignition. Yi Zhaoxian suddenly formed a strange seal. The holy light that was released from his body immediately burned like flames, causing his dispirited aura to rise by a lot. This technique originated from the emperor-level cultivation technique that the 7 great treasures had bestowed upon him. At the critical moment, he could reverse the cultivation technique and recover a certain amount of strength. I don't need 2 hours to reach the end of the bridge, Immortal Zhao thought to himself. In this kind of situation where he was on the verge of death, all the potential in his body had been completely unleashed. Naturally, he would be faster than the others. Coupled with that technique, today I will definitely be able to. Yi Zhaoxian's heart was set. However, Yi Zhaoxian never expected that he would suddenly see a bright Buddhist light. He saw that the Buddhist ancestor, who was originally fighting fiercely with heavenly venerable Huang Yun on the other side, had suddenly changed his figure and was heading straight for him. You dare to attack me? Yi Zhaoxian was really shocked and angry. Forever he could understand why heavenly venerable Yi and the celestial tree were against him. But yes, there was no enmity between him and the ancient Bodhi temple at all. Amit Ba, benefactor Yi, your mortal karma is over. Why don't you follow this poor monk and convert to Buddhism? Huang Fuju put his palms together and looked solemn and serious. In fact, Huang Fuju was also quite depressed. He didn't want to attack Yi Zhaoxian at this time. If he didn't get rid of Yi Zhaoxian, with Yi Zhaoxian's personality, he would definitely think of ways to take revenge on him. No, after that, Qin Nan sent him a message. He also had no choice. Compared to attacking Yi Zhaoxian now, he still didn't want Song and the others to know his true identity. Master is right. Senior Yi, you should convert to Buddhism and ascend to the Western Paradise forever. And it wasn't just Huang Fuju. Emperor Huang Yun held an immortal sword and slashed out a sharp sword light, stabbing towards Yi Zhaoxian's forehead. All along, Emperor Huang Yun had been considering the entire family. She completely wouldn't participate in the matters of Qin Nan and Yi Zhaoxian. But just now, the celestial tree's words moved her. The celestial tree had given her a promise. In addition, the situation was already leaning towards Qin Nan and the others. Furthermore, she was about to become a supreme celestial venerable. Even if she killed Yi Zhaoxian, she would not attract Song's hatred and revenge. Good, good, good. Eternal Night Heavenly Venerable was overjoyed. This way, Yi Zhaoxian would definitely be eliminated today. You. Zhaoxian's eyes were spewing fire and his heart was filled with hatred. However, he couldn't say anything at this moment. He had to forcefully gather his will and give everything he had. Boom, boom, boom. The murderous intent on the mountain peak became denser and denser. No, after a long time, under Qin Nan and Ji Xian's terrifying attacks, Song was still struck by the two's divine arts despite hiding in the middle of the Saint's souls. More and more wounds appeared on his body. His clothes were completely dyed red with blood. The celestial emperor's sword's light also gradually dimmed. Yi Zhaoxian was in an even worse state. He was already heavily injured and now, his injuries became even worse. Moreover, the celestial tree took advantage of the encirclement to release a divine art, shattering 5 bones in his chest. Yi Zhaoxian, stop struggling and die. Yi Tianzuan's long hair danced wildly with murderous intent. He raised his hand and threw out thousands of dark spears. Tong. The heavenly Tao tree, Huang Fuju, and Emperor Huang Yun stood on the other side and released their divine arts to form an encirclement. Yi Zhaoxian's pupils rapidly shrank. He felt an incomparably dense aura of death. Although Yi Zhaoxian felt that the time wasn't right yet. He wanted to delay it for a while, but it was no longer up to him. Saint's soul ignition. Immortal Zhao roared and issued a divine thought. Among the 3 saint souls of the heavens and earth around Song, 2 of them suddenly stopped attacking. Black flames burst out of their bodies and burned them into ashes. Whoosh! 2. A shocking force immediately surged into Yi Zhaoxian's body, causing 2 halos to emit from his body and completely envelop him. To the 7 ultimate treasures, Song and Yi Zhaoxian were 2 important chess pieces. Therefore, when they were asked to refine the saint souls to kill Qin Nan, they also gave Song and Yi Zhaoxian a life-saving measure, which was to sacrifice the saint souls. Clang. However, the 7 supreme treasures had made Song and Yi Zhaoxian swear an oath that they would not sacrifice the saint soul of the world unless they were in a dire situation. After all, the saint soul of the world possessed the battle prowess of a transcendent heavenly venerate. Moreover, the saint soul of the world would not be able to provide too much feedback after the sacrifice. It could only form a protective force that would not last for long. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions rang out. Even though the 2 halos of light had dimmed quite a bit, they had completely blocked the combined attacks of the 4 people, so Yi Zhaoxian did not suffer any damage. The saint souls can be used like this? Evernight Empyrean's face instantly darkened. No matter what, I'll kill you today. Celestial Tree and the others' expressions changed. They didn't waste any time and used various forbidden arts. On the other side, Song felt a great sense of danger after losing the 2 sacred souls of the heavens and earth. His hair stood on its end. He did not hesitate to sacrifice the 2 sacred souls of the heavens and earth when Qin Nan and Ji Xian were making their move. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2705. What a waste of God's treasures! Xian Harumph. The 2 treasures floated in the air and sealed off the area. He then used the power of his heavenly artifact body to summon a divine sword and executed a peerless sword technique to slash at the light circle. Qin in the south, the holy demon mountains appeared one after another, crushing down one after another. Let us help you, Qin Nan. With the help of the sacred soul of heaven and earth, Ancestor Mingchu and the others were free to attack Song from all directions. Song He was in a much better condition than Yi Zhaoxian, so he was not going to wait for his death. He turned into rays of light and flashed around the mountain to dodge the attacks. Fellow cultivators, the light circle isn't very powerful. We can surely break it if we work together. Eternal Night Heaven Highness yelled. Boom, boom, boom. The murderous aura on the mountain became more terrifying. The skills that everyone executed were also more terrifying. Slice. A moment later, the first light circle on Yi Zhaoxian's body shattered and turned into nothing. Song was not as miserable as Yi Zhaoxian. The first light circle had only just dimmed. Brother, time is almost up. Even though the chances of killing Song are slim, we have to try no matter what, Ji said. Xian sent a message to Qin Nan with a cold look. He knew a lot about the Blue Dome, so he knew that if they failed to kill Song this time, Song would bring them great trouble in the future. Time continued to pass. After a while, the first light circle on Song's body finally shattered. However, meanwhile, Qin Nan, Ji Xian, Song, and the others continued to evolve at a faster pace. Each of them had reached the second half of the bridge. It would not take long for them to reach the end of the bridge. However, it was also at this moment that Yi Zhaoxian's second ring of light completely dimmed after being struck by the various abilities. Cracks even appeared on it. Eternal Night, Heavenly Venerable, and the others became spirited. They only needed 1 or 2 attacks to completely shatter this light circle. Am I going to die? Yi Zhaoxian looked at this scene. For some unknown reason, everything around him seemed to slow down. It was to the point where he could clearly sense the thick aura of death enveloping his entire body and his soul. There was no other way. As long as the halo shattered, he would no longer be able to resist. There's only a little bit left, Immortal Zhao muttered to himself. He was just a little bit away from reaching the end of the bridge and entering his tribulation. I refuse to accept this. Zhao Xian's eyes suddenly turned blood red. He raised his head to the sky and roared hysterically like a trapped beast making its final struggle. I am really not convinced. Throughout his life, he had written countless legends, but today, he was going to fall in the hands of these people? By virtue of what? This is for what reason? He really couldn't accept it. Boom! Yi Zhaoxian's will skyrocketed. As an existence on par with Tsang, Zhou Di, and Huang Fuju, one of the four supreme celestial venerables of the ancient times, his talent was naturally extremely great. Now that he was in such a desperate situation, he actually unleashed an invisible force again. As of this moment, his will to walk on the bridge increased madly. Double, triple, triple. Buzz. Finally, when Eternal Knight Heavenly Venerable and the others were about to execute their skills, Yi Zhaoxian reached the end of the bridge. He unleashed a great aura. No. In addition to that, a group of 9 colored lightning dragons that were fighting in the sky suddenly exploded from each other, dispersing into a huge lightning vortex. The tribulation was taking shape. How is this possible? Yi Zhaoxian and the others were startled. How did it happen so early? Ha ha ha! Yi Zhaoxian threw his head back and let out a thunderous laughter. Eternal Knight, you didn't manage to kill me in the end. All of you, remember this. Remember this. I'll settle this with you later. Yi Zichen said. Immortal Zhao flew into the sky with all his might. He still had one last burst of light, which was enough for him to achieve the Supreme Highness realm. Yi Zhaoxian. At that instant Qin Nan's figure suddenly transformed into a tremendous saber glow slashing at Yi Zhaoxian. Kill. Eternal Knight Heavenly Venerable and the others immediately collected their thoughts. They let out roars and executed various moves. Qin Nan, why are you trying to kill me? Shouldn't you be trying to kill Tsang? How are you going to kill Tsang if you're trying to kill me? Immortal Zhao yelled at the sky with a twisted expression. Everyone could tell that there was a huge difference between him and Tsang. Tsang was a bigger threat compared to him. Besides, Tsang was not in a good spot either. Qin Nan had a chance if he teamed up with Ji Xian and the others. As such, Yi Zhaoxian was not worried at all. Cut the crap and die. The heaven-shattering saber in Qin Nan's hand was flung forward, colliding with Yi Zhaoxian's figure with a formidable saber intent. The various divine abilities that Empyrean Evernight and the rest unleashed also came pouring over at this time. No. Yi Zhaoxian yelled into the sky while performing a series of hand seals. However, he did not have any energy left. He could not even execute a single move. Bang bang! An earth-shattering explosion rang out. One of the four Supreme Highnesses, Yi Zhaoxian, had died. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2706. Ha ha ha, Yi Zhaoxian is dead. I've killed her. Eternal Knight Heaven Highness burst out laughing. His face was filled with excitement. In his heart, he felt a sense of accomplishment that he had never felt before. Even though Qin Nan was the one who had dealt the final blow, and the Celestial Tree, the Ancestral Buddha, and Huangyun Heaven Highness had contributed a little too, Eternal Knight Heaven Highness still thought he was the one who had killed Yi Zhaoxian. Yi Zhaoxian, oh Yi Zhaoxian, didn't you look down on me? Didn't you call me a mere ant? Let's see who's the real ant now. Great! Celestial Tree and the others were overjoyed too. Today, she had finally settled the old scores and new grudges with Yi Zhaoxian. How pitiful! Huang Fuju shook his head. Yi Zhaoxian's death was truly wretched and aggrieved. He was only one step away from becoming a supreme Empyrean. Huang Fuju could not help but rejoice in his heart. Fortunately, he chose to endure after he was resurrected. Otherwise, he might very well end up like Yi Zhaoxian and die with a grudge. Qin Nan, congratulations, you've finally eliminated a formidable enemy. A loud and clear voice rang out. It was Tsang who had spoken. His face was full of smiles, there wasn't the slightest bit of displeasure. "I'd like to thank you too. I still owe Yi Zhaoxian a promise, but I don't have to pay it back now. Moreover, this guy took a lot of benefits from the 7 supreme treasures that belonged to me." Song even cupped his fists at Qin Nan upon saying this. "Don't thank me yet. Since Yi Zhaoxian is dead, you're the one who's going to die now." The saber intent that Qin Nan was emitting grew stronger instead of decreasing. "Haha, Qin Nan, I admit that I'm in a bad spot now. You could have killed me if you had enough time. Unfortunately, we don't have that much time now." Song laughed heartily, completely disapproving. It wasn't just him. Everyone else present also felt that it was impossible for Qin Nan to kill Qin Nan. From the moment Qin Nan attacked Yi Zhaoxian, Qin Nan no longer had a chance. In addition to Tsang, Qin Nan, Ji Xian, the Celestial Tree, Eternal Night Heaven Highness, and the others were experiencing a mystical change too. The 9-colored lightning dragons in the sky began to disperse. Lightning tribulations were everywhere. Every single one of them had reached the end of the sky bridge and was about to undergo the heavenly lightning tribulation. Although Qin Nan and the others could still deal the final blow, Tsang was not like Yi Zhaoxian. Tsang was only lightly injured. There was still a complete halo around him, but a dim halo. It was impossible for them to kill Tsang with their final attack. Kill! Ji Xian, the Celestial Tree, and the others executed their strongest attacks without wasting any time. "You guys are really unwilling to give up until the end. Why do you insist on wasting your energy?" Tsang shook his head. His eyes flickered with disdain. He had always thought that anyone who did such a thing was extremely stupid. "Wasting our energy? Brother, compared to Yi Zhaoxian, you're a lot more dangerous. Why would we waste our last chance?" Ji Xian mocked. You?" Tsang's eyes glittered. At that instant, a brilliant golden glow burst out of Qin Nan's body. A terrifying aura surged across the mountain like a great storm. "What's that?" Huang Fuju and Emperor Huang Yun's faces changed. Under this pressure, they only felt that they were as insignificant as dust. In addition to them, the 6 monarch god Origin, the square heaven ancient lantern, and the artifacts at the scene began to tremble. This aura, could it be? Feng Ryu was surprised and overjoyed. Clear dragon heaven verifying seal. Qin Nan let out a roar. A giant seal emitting a golden glow flew out of Qin Nan's body. The rift began to crack as soon as it appeared. The mountain began to shake vigorously. Even the lightning above seemed to be affected by it. The impact. Why would Qin Nan suddenly attack Yi Zhaoxian? It was because he had sensed that the clear dragon heaven verifying seal was about to awaken. If that was the case, he might as well kill Yi Zhaoxian while the clear dragon heaven verifying seal was about to awaken. He would then eliminate Tsang too. "Ha ha ha, I've finally seen the light of day again." A burst of wild laughter came out of the seal. It was none other than Wu Di. While it was talking, the cries of dragons echoed in the rift within a few 10,000 li, as if thousands of godly dragons had broken through the ocean and soared into the sky. How could this be? Song was startled. Why did it have to awaken now? Kill. The force in Qin Nan's body surged into the clear dragon heaven verifying seal. I'll show you the power of the clear dragon heaven verifying seal today. Wu Di yelled. 10,000 Emperor's god-destroying ray. Thousands of runes appeared on the surface of the clear dragon heaven corroborating seal. A few 100,000 light dots of various colors surged toward it from all directions and gathered together in the blink of an eye, forming an indescribable presence. Bang! It completely unleashed its power. It turned into a tremendous ray of light firing at Song. Crap! Song was startled. The attack was too terrifying. It had greatly surpassed the strength of a Supreme Highness. It possessed a destructive power. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2707. Help me! Song yelled in his heart. Let's do it according to the terms we agreed on. A hoarse voice rang in Song's mind. God Legion Seal. Song spat out a mouthful of blood as he performed a seal. 3 formidable forces burst out of his body and turned into 3 magnificent illusionary figures. Each illusionary figure emitted a godly glow and a tremendous aura, like the peerless god monarchs who had shaken the heavens. Is that? Ji Xian's eyes widened. Bang! A shocking explosion echoed between the heavens and earth. Even the strange creatures at the foot of the mountain heard it clearly. A terrifying shock wave spread in all directions, causing the heavenly sovereigns on the mountain to feel a sense of danger. They quickly executed various moves to defend themselves. Soon, the shock wave dissipated, revealing a huge pit at the top of the mountain. Cough cough. Song rose to his feet from the pit. The light barrier around him had completely shattered. He was covered in blood. His aura was extremely weak, and his hair was disheveled. He was in a miserable state. Qin Nan, what a pity! You were so close to killing me. Song forced a smile onto his face, but it was rather eerie. As a matter of fact, he was still feeling a little scared. He initially thought the 10 saint souls of the heavens and earth would not be enough to kill Qin Nan. However, he did not think not only did he fail to kill Qin Nan had even unsealed the vast dragon heavenly seal in advance, because she had almost killed him. If it weren't for the rules of the Blue Dome restraining the vast dragon heavenly seal, Qin Nan would not even be able to utilize a 10,000th of its power. If it weren't for the loot he had obtained from the Mountain of Origin, he would most likely be killed just like Yi Zhaoxian. Holy crap, that kid has been hiding his trump card all this while. Wu Di's face darkened. How unlucky! It's my first time after unsealing the seal, and I can't even kill a Heaven Highness. What a disgrace! Qin Nan, Ji Xian, Celestial Tree, and the others felt their hearts sink. They didn't expect Song to have such a trick up his sleeve. The final attack had failed. This time, he could not kill Song. Qin Nan and you Ji Xian, after I become a supreme heavenly venerate, I'll play with you guys in the Blue Dome. Song stopped smiling and turned into a beam of light that shot into the sky. Thunderous booms rang out one after another. Song's tribulation of heaven and earth had arrived, completely enveloping him and isolating him from the world. There was no way to kill him. Little brother, let's go transcend the tribulation first. If I can't kill him this time, I'll kill him sooner or later. Ji Xian transmitted his voice and flew into the sky. Qin Nan, the Celestial Tree, Eternal Night Heaven Highness, and the others had no choice but to calm themselves down and enter the sky. Oh my, that old man Song and that young man Qin Nan, both of them are freaking resourceful. It seems like I shouldn't provoke them after I become a supreme heavenly venerate. Huang Fu-ju murmured to himself as he watched them leave. He soon followed them. Boom boom boom. For a moment, the entire world was filled with the sound of thunder. 5 people remained at the top of the mountain. They were Mingqiu Patriarch, Ling Huang Patriarch, Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao. Isn't it a pity that you didn't become a supreme heavenly venerate this time? You were on the verge of breaking through in the beginning, Ling Huang Patriarch said with a smile as he felt relieved. What's the big deal? If I can't do it this time, I'll try again next time. It's fine as long as Qin Nan can do it. Ancestor Mingqiu's face was full of smiles. After he finished speaking, he looked at the 3 girls and said, You 3 girls, how do you feel this time? It was understandable that Princess Miao Miao and the other 2 girls had failed to become supreme heavenly venerates. After all, their foundations were too weak. Although Xue Mengyao's foundations were deep, she had injured her origin source back then. Husband and wife should advance and retreat together. Grandpa Mingqiu, Grandpa Ling Huang, Xiao Nanzi will definitely encounter greater danger after becoming a supreme heavenly venerate. However, you have to tell Xiao Nanzi not to put us in the heavenly cycle. We're not some canaries in the undying mountain. Although Princess Miao Miao had consumed a lot of energy in the battle, she was still in high spirits. Jiang Bailan and Xue Mengyao also looked very good. What you said makes sense, little girl. I'll agree. Mingchu Patriarch and Ling Huang Patriarch nodded with a smile. At the same time, the heavenly venerates on the mountainside saw the scene in the sky. They've become supreme heavenly venerates. Qin Nan and Tsang have become supreme heavenly venerates. F***CK, Eternal Night has become a supreme heavenly venerate. There are actually so many people advancing at the same time this time. This is even more glorious than the glorious era of ancient times. The primary upper realm is really going to change completely. The heavenly venerates were all shocked and their faces were filled with shock. The lightning tribulation lasted for a full day before it gradually stopped. Waves of terrifying pressure were born one after another in the void, sweeping in all directions. The Battle of Origin Mountain was completely over. Qin Nan, Tsang Ji Xian, Huang Fuju, Celestial Tree, Eternal Night Heavenly Venerate, and Heavenly Venerate Huang Yun had all ascended to the position of Supreme Heavenly Venerate, opening a new curtain for the primary upper realm. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 2708. Meanwhile, in the Blue Dome, in the heaven of the Middle Profound Realm, an enormous figure suddenly appeared. The light it emitted illuminated the darkness in all directions. Even the sky within a few million li was dyed in 7 colors. It was the will of the 7 great treasures. Root according to their calculations, the outcome of the Battle of Mountain of Origin would be decided around this time, so they had come to take a look personally. It's over. The 7 great treasures soon saw an invisible storm sweeping across the heavens and earth. The Mountain of Origin closed and fell silent once again. Boom! At the same time, dozens of dazzling godly rays burst out of it and flew toward the entrance of the heaven of the Middle Profound Realm at a shocking speed. This was the protective rule of the Mountain of Origin. After the battle ended, both Supreme Heavenly Venerates and Heavenly Venerates would be teleported to the entrance. Furthermore, there would be a large distance between them to prevent the newly promoted Supreme Heavenly Venerates from killing the other Heavenly Venerates immediately. No matter how fast the godly rays were, they could not escape the senses of the 7 great treasures. They were able to see them as soon as they appeared. They were enraged after taking a glance. What's going on? Not only did Qin Nan survive, but Yi Zhaoxian was killed instead. Preposterous, simply preposterous. Isn't 10 sacred souls of the heavens and earth and an emperor-level martial art enough? They had planned for the worst. If something unexpected happened and they were unable to kill Qin Nan, they could at least guarantee that Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian could achieve the Supreme Highness realm. But now one of them had died. Bang! Whoosh! However, one of the godly rays was forcibly shattered. A figure appeared between the heavens and earth. This figure was none other than Qin Nan. You traitorous bastards! The clear dragon heaven-proving seal appeared on Qin Nan's body. Wu Di stood on it and pointed at the clear dragon heaven-proving seal and the other treasures in the sky. He cursed. How did Master treat you in the past? Is this how you repay him? I'll say it right here and now. I'll kill all of you one by one. Ru Yu's mouth twitched. Lord Wu Di was indeed Lord Wu Di. He was indeed domineering. The 7 supreme treasures clearly held the absolute advantage, and yet he still dared to say such words. Wu Di, don't talk nonsense here. You were no match for us even at your peak. Now that you have a new master, you can't use your full strength. You think you can kill us? The Donghuang Great Void Chain was furious and said coldly. That's it. Even this part of the world was affected by the mood of the 7 supreme treasures. Lightning flashed and snow fell from the sky. Hee, I wasn't a match for you guys when I was at my peak. You dog thing, your skin is really thick. Back then, if you had dared to fight me one-on-one, I would have taken turns to take care of all of you. The enemy hooted, but you dogs are right, Xiao Yi really can't kill you now. However, do you know how wise and far-sighted Master is? How could he not have foreseen that you would rebel? Let me tell you, Master has already set up a shocking plan in the Blue Dome. Your end is coming. If you kneel down and surrender now and sincerely repent. On the other side, Ji Xian had also escaped from the divine light. When he heard Wu Di's words, he was so scared that his hair stood on end. He hurriedly yelled, F***ck, Master, don't court death. Let's go back first. Ji Xian couldn't care less. He immediately threw out a divine talisman, releasing a majestic force that swept Qin Nan and the clear dragon heaven verifying seal into it, then rushed into the distance. East the Dongwang Great Void Chain was even more furious now. He roared, Song, get the hell back here! Boom boom! Heaven! Countless bolts of lightning struck the ground. No. After some time, Qin Nan's group finally regrouped. They finally escaped from the Blue Dome and arrived at the primary upper realm. Little G, it's not that I want to lecture you, but although they are very powerful now, can they really fight? So, don't be afraid of them. They are just a bunch of paper tigers. Wu Di sat cross-legged on the stone seal and said arrogantly. Ji Xianxian's mouth twitched. He couldn't be bothered to argue with this guy. Is what you just said true, Master? Did Master really set up a shocking plan in the Blue Dome to deal with these traitors? Fang Ruyu crawled out of the ancient lamp and asked excitedly. If that was really the case, then his choice back then was truly a wise one. Celestial Tree and the others all looked at Wu Di. If the Master of the Blue Dome had set up a backup plan, then they could completely turn the tables. Don't take it seriously. I'm just scaring them. Wu Di chuckled. If there really was such a method, I would have labeled them traitors long ago and killed them. Fang Ruyu frowned. The faces of Ruyu and the others all darkened. Come, let's return to the Undying Cycle Mountain first. Qin Nan waved his hand. An invisible force descended and brought everyone away. Zhou, the cultivators of the Undying Cycle Mountain, had already received the news. They had already gathered at the first mountain pass. When Qin Nan and the others showed up, they immediately burst into thunderous cheers. Everyone's face was filled with surprise and excitement. Qin Nan and the others were moved by the sight. The eyes of Ancestor Mingqiu, Ancestor Ling Huang, Heavenly Venerable Chang Shao, and the others reddened. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 2709. After a long time, Qin Nan and the others left the first mountain pass and headed to the 9th mountain pass. During the battle at Origin Mountain, Gu Fei had absorbed most of the power of the Pearl of the Celestial Emperor and could not stay any longer. Seeing this, Zhou Xuandao led Gu Fei to a celestial lake at the 9th mountain pass and let him continue to recover. Until now, he had recovered more than half and reached the level of a celestial master. While moreover, after going through the life and death calamity of the ancient times and sleeping for 10,000 years, he naturally broke through and became a Dao Ji celestial master from the ancient times. Only, however, it would take some time for him to fully recover to the level of a Dao Ji celestial master. At this moment Gu Fei, who was in seclusion, felt the aura of Qin Nan and the others and was overjoyed. He immediately opened his eyes and was about to congratulate Qin Nan when he saw a very familiar face. He was stunned. What's wrong? Don't you recognize your big brother? Ji Xian raised his eyebrows. Damn. Old Ji. It's really you. You've been resurrected too. Gu Fei suddenly reacted and his face became extremely excited. What do you mean resurrected? Do you think I'm as weak as you? I didn't die at all, Ji Xian said proudly. You didn't die? Gu Fei was stunned and immediately became furious. Old Ji, you bastard, since you didn't die, why didn't you resurrect me? Idiot, why don't you think about it? You were completely killed at that time, and your ancestral land was completely destroyed. If not for tens of thousands of years, how could you reignite a trace of vitality? Ji Xian rolled his eyes. Qin, seeing this, Nan waved his hand and said, All right, Gu Fei, we'll talk about this later. Old Ji, there's something I don't understand. How did Song kill Brother Tian? Everyone present was silent as they focused their attention on the battle. Ji Xianxian's appearance meant that many mysteries would be completely solved. Song could kill Brother Tian because of Old Man's Wuxian, Ji Xian said slowly. After Li was resurrected, did Old Man's Wuxian use some method to kill Li? Qin Nan's eyes turned cold. Not bad. Killing intent flashed in Ji Xian's eyes. Old Man's Wuxian fulfilled his promise and allowed Brother Tian to save Li. Li fully recovered in year 2048 of the Saint Sky calendar. However, there was a problem with the method that Old Man's Wuxian told Brother Tian. As a result, Li became a puppet spirit of the Slayer Immortal Divine Steel after her rebirth and was completely bound by the steel. Later on, Old Man's Wuxian used this to threaten Brother Tian, wanting him to do 3 things for him. Although Brother Tian was very angry, he still agreed. When Brother Tian went to do the first thing, Li burst forth with astonishing willpower and temporarily broke free from the restraints, choosing death on her own. She did not want to be a burden to Brother Tian. I don't want to become Brother Tian's weakness. Although it was only a few short sentences, the scene could be easily imagined. Wudi's expression changed as he roared, That shameless old man! Fei was also furious. Only now did it know that this was how Sister Li died. As expected, Qin Nan's body emitted waves of killing intent. What happened next? Nan forcefully suppressed his emotions and asked. That day, Brother Tian flew into a rage and joined forces with Forefather Yukong to fight Old Man's Wuxian. I'm not very clear about the details of the battle, but that battle caused Brother Tian to be heavily injured and almost die. After that, Brother Tian focused all of his energy on the Blue Dome, wholeheartedly exploring the Blue Dome. Later on, Brother Tian put in a lot of effort to build the Mountain of Origin, which worsened his injuries. Because of this, Song took advantage of the opportunity. Ji Xian said. Qin Nan frowned. Brother Tian didn't die, did he? The spirit of the Celestial Pole list was a Khanate Taoist constitution. According to the Master of the Blue Dome, this constitution was protected by great fortune and would not die unless one became a powerhouse. Moreover, the scene in the ancient square heaven lantern was enough to prove it. Ji Xianxian glanced at the celestial tree and the others, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Indeed, he didn't die. The celestial tree and the others were shocked, but their expressions didn't change much, and they didn't make a sound. All you need to do is listen. Gu Fei's body trembled. Brother Tian didn't die? What's going on? Sister Li's death did make Brother Tian furious and almost lose his mind, but Brother Tian didn't lose it in the end. Brother Tian had already noticed some clues at that time, so he knew very well that even if he joined forces with Forefather Yukong, it was impossible for him to take revenge. So, when Brother Tian attacked Old Man's Wuxian again, he only showed his strength on the surface and didn't completely expose himself. Others didn't know this, but Qin Nan knew very well. The so-called power on the surface referred to the cultivation base of the celestial pole spiritual earth realm supreme heavenly venerate on the celestial pole roll. Perhaps by then, the celestial pole roll spirit would have already recovered to the Tao realm supreme heavenly venerate. But, because the spirit of the celestial pole list had an even more terrifying power, the Khanate Taoist constitution, one of the top 10 Khanate constitution in the universe. Brother Tian was indeed seriously injured, but Song couldn't kill him. Brother Tian deliberately let Song kill him. Ji Xian said. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 27:10. Let Song kill him on purpose? Old Ji, what's going on? That day, I clearly sensed that the celestial pole leaderboard was completely shattered. It turned into the most primitive power and entered the 33 small celestial realms. Gu Fei asked anxiously. He was not the only one. The celestial tree, Zhou Xuandao, and Cassiopeia were also puzzled and confused. They still remembered that day. With an explosion that resounded throughout the primary upper realm, the celestial pole leaderboard, which had nurtured countless cultivators, turned into light spots that filled the sky and flew into the 33 small celestial realms. The aura of the celestial pole leaderboard, the rules, and so on no longer existed. It was also because of the destruction of the celestial pole leaderboard that Zhou Di was furious and brazenly attacked Song, resulting in a battle between supreme heavenly venerables. Now, according to Ji Xian, the spirit of the celestial pole list was deliberately faking his death. However, after the celestial pole leaderboard was destroyed, the spirit of the celestial pole list would definitely die. Even if the celestial pole leaderboard was one of the two supreme treasures of the primary upper realm and was extraordinary, the spirit of the celestial pole list was only a spirit of the celestial pole list. For example, if the undying cycle mountain was destroyed, Zhou Xuandao would not be able to live for long. Gu Fei, when you become a supreme heavenly venerate, I'll tell you, Ji Xian smiled faintly. Then, he saluted the celestial tree and the others with cupped fists and said, Fellow cultivators, I really can't tell you about this. It's not that I don't trust you, fellow cultivators. It's just that, if we talk about this too much, it will have a negative impact. Ji Xian paused and added, Little brother, you should be able to understand the reason. In short, Brother Tian faked his death. Brother Tian is still alive now. Although Qin Nan did not know the specific details, Qin Nan could guess that all of this was because of the born Taoism aptitude. Once the born Taoism aptitude was awakened, the body would have a sacred soul formed by an ancient almighty. Brother Tian must have used this sacred soul to not be affected. Why did Brother Tian choose to fake his death? Qin Nan immediately asked. One had to know that the heaven-level list was one of the two supreme treasures formed from the great upper realm's source energy. As long as one was in the great upper realm, they would be able to display unimaginable power. In order to fake his death and prevent anyone from suspecting him, Brother Tian had directly shattered the heavens pole leaderboard. The price he had paid for that was not an ordinary price. After Li died, Brother Tian took the initiative to ally with ancestor Yukong and fought a great battle with Old Man Zhuxian. After this battle, Brother Tian is very clear that if he wants revenge, he must go to the depths of the Blue Dome and obtain more power. From then on, Brother Tian focused all his energy on the Blue Dome. Later, in the 2200th year of the Saint Heaven calendar, when Zhou Di and the others became supreme heavenly venerates, Old Man Zhuxian suddenly took the initiative to kill ancestor Yukong. Brother Tian hurried to the immortal divine steel and help ancestor Yukong. During the process, Brother Tian suddenly found that Old Man Zhuxian and the Donghuang Great Void Chain had a close relationship. Other than that, Brother Tian also discovered something, but he didn't tell me what it was. However, it was also at that moment that Brother Tian began to plan to fake his death. Brother Tian knew that Song was a ruthless person who didn't care about feelings at all, so Brother Tian deliberately let himself be severely injured so that Song would have an opportunity to take advantage of. Hearing this, Qin Nan, Zhou Xuandao, Cassiopeia, and Celestial Tree immediately understood something. When Zhou Di and the others became supreme heavenly venerates, they noticed that the immortal divine steel had changed, so they unexpectedly joined hands to explore it. Later, Zhou Di and Song both went deeper due to a coincidence. This was also one of the fuses that led to the outbreak of the battle between Supreme Heavenly Venerate. Now that they looked at it again, the so-called change turned out to be a battle between the two artifact spirits of the immortal divine steel. Found something? Qin Nan frowned slightly. What did Brother Tian find? Why did he destroy the Heavens Pole leaderboard? F***K. Zhuxian, that old man, when did he collude with those scumbags? I didn't know anything about it. Wu Di cursed. He then asked, who won, Zhuxian or Yukong? Old man Zhuxian won that battle in the end. However, Ancestor Yukong was unexpectedly strong and had mastered many unbelievable moves. Old man Zhuxian might have defeated Yukong, but he was seriously injured and is still in a deep sleep. He has recovered. Wu Di's expression darkened. He said, damn it, that old man won and became the only artifact spirit of the immortal divine steel. It's not good for us. Fang Ryu felt the same and nodded in agreement. Senior, what is this immortal divine steel? Is it an artifact on the same level as the Donghuang Great Void Chain? Celestial Tree couldn't help but ask. Zhou Xuandao, Cassiopeia, and the others were also very confused. Since the discovery of the Blue Dome in the ancient times, the immortal divine steel was closely related to the primary upper realm. Until now, the giants of the primary upper realm had at least 800 different guesses about the immortal divine steel. How can the Donghuang Great Void Chain be mentioned on the same level as the immortal divine steel? The immortal divine steel is on the same level as me. Wu Di harumphed coldly and said, but that's not the point. The immortal godly boulder isn't actually my master's artifact. Qin Nan and the others were shocked. The immortal godly boulder wasn't the master of the Azure Dome's artifact? Then what was its origin? Why was it in the Blue Dome? Wonderful Book House. Chapter 27:11. Not long after Master became one of the top giants in the universe, he went to a mysterious forbidden area in the universe. We don't know what exactly he went through, but since then, the immortal divine tablet has been added to the vault. I asked my master about the origin of the immortal divine tablet, and who it belongs to, but he didn't tell me. He only said the immortal divine tablet is related to a great secret. Of course, my master left the immortal divine tablet in the Blue Dome. It's bound by the rules of the Blue Dome, Wu Di said. The crowd was astounded. Everyone's hearts trembled. They did not expect the immortal divine steel to be so powerful. What's the relationship between the eyes of the immortal emperor and the immortal divine tablet? Qin Nan asked as he recalled Meng Li. You can think of the eyes of the immortal emperor as a great opportunity nurtured by the immortal divine tablet. It possesses a terrifying power, but it's harder than ascending the heavens to claim it. Wu Di said. A thought crossed Qin Nan's mind. He said, did old man Zhuxian create the 10 immortals to control the eyes of the immortal emperor? It's possible, Ji Xian interjected. However, I believe old man Zhuxian is trying to use the 10 immortals to gain more control over the immortal divine tablet. Back then, old man Zhuxian and old ancestor Yukong were both weapon spirits of the Zhu immortal divine steel, but they could only control the outermost area of the Zhu immortal divine steel. Their control over the Zhu immortal divine steel was not great at all, far inferior to the control of the Tianji leaderboard. Speaking of the 10 immortals, I still don't understand why Senior Divine God of Battle is the most special existence among them. Qin Nan could not help but ask. The question had been bothering him for a long time. Brother, you can think of the 10 immortals that Zhuxian came up with as a selection. First, he will pick 10 immortals to carry the name of the 10 immortals, and then he will pick one among them to fulfill Zhuxian's purpose. One of them. When Xiang Zun and the others became the 10 immortals, Zhuxian gave them a lot of benefits. He also told them that once they achieved the Heaven Highness realm, there would be a competition to decide the winner. But Xiang Zun is too talented. When Xiang Zun became the strongest master of Tao, he and the other 9 immortals entered the godly boulder to cultivate. But who would have thought that Xiang Zun would actually trigger such a shocking phenomenon? At that time, old man's was Xian. There's no need for unnecessary competition. Xiang Zun is that person. Ji Xian sighed. I see. Although he's ranked 5th, he's actually ranked 1st. Qin Nan exclaimed in his heart. They had to admit that senior divine god of battle's talents were absolutely terrifying. He was able to achieve the Heaven Highness realm when he was only in the Master realm. Little brother, since we're talking about this, there's something you need to be aware of. In the past, Xiang Zun became the person in old man's Wuxian's heart. Now that Xiang Zun has fused into your body, according to common sense, your talent should be greater than Xiang Zun's. Therefore once old man's Wuxian wakes up, he will surely find a way to harm you, Ji Xian reminded him. Besides, old man's Wuxian has been asleep for a few thousand years. It won't be long until he wakes up, Ji Xian added. The others immediately understood the situation upon hearing the words. The 7 artifacts in the blue dome treated Qin Nan as a thorn in their side because of the Hao Dragon Heaven verifying seal. Even though Qin Nan had displayed his outstanding strength, there was no way they could recruit Qin Nan. They would only try their best to get rid of Qin Nan. When the time came, the only weapon spirit of the godly boulder would have to deal with Qin Nan too. The situation was not looking good. I'll wait for it to come. Qin Nan let out a hollow laugh. He wasn't an ant anymore. Let's not talk about it for now. Where's Brother Tian? Is he in the upper profound realm of the Blue Dome? Why isn't he showing himself? Qin Nan asked. That's right, Brother Tian is indeed in the upper profound realm, but I have no idea where exactly he is. Ji Xian shook his head and said, Brother Tian must be hiding something. Take me as an example, even though I've been keeping in touch with him. I haven't seen him for 3,000 years. Qin Nan frowned slightly. If it hadn't seen Ji Xian for 3,000 years, then there was only one possibility. The celestial pole list spirit had been busy with something during these 3,000 years. Furthermore, it was something very important, so it couldn't meet Ji Xian. Old Ji, there's something I don't understand. Why have you been using the name D for the past 10,000 years? If you reveal your cultivation, Yongye won't be the strongest cultivator in the primary upper realm, Qin Nan said after a slight ponder. Motherf *Ker, speaking of this matter, I feel so aggrieved. Ji Xian complained, you should know that after the battle between the 4 Supreme Highnesses, all the Supreme Highnesses were gone. There weren't many Heaven Highnesses left either. I was the strongest cultivator in the primary upper realm. I should have shown myself in front of everyone and recruited the fairies of the primary upper realm. However, Brother Tian found me not long after. He asked me to endure it. First, I had to help him do something secretly. Second, I had to awaken my god flesh. Third, I had to refine my cultivation and martial arts. Fourth, and most importantly, Brother Tian told me that if we want to turn the tables, we have to wait for Zhoudi's reincarnation. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 27:12. Zhoudi's reincarnation? Yes. The crowd immediately glanced toward Qin Nan. Qin Nan was slightly startled too. Zhoudi, wasn't he the reincarnation of Zhoudi himself? Why did you wait for me? Qin Nan frowned and said, did you already know I was Lin Xiaoji back then? How is that possible? Ji Xian rolled his eyes and said in exasperation, after you left, we spent a lot of time looking for you. We often gathered together to try to figure out your true identity. We even went to the Blue Dome Society to look for information about you. We only realized you came from the future when you started to interact with the Sherdao tribe in recent years. Gu Fei had a sad look too. They had suffered a lot during that time. As for why we waited for you, Brother Tian didn't tell me the exact reason. He only told me we would know the answer when the time was right, Ji Xian said. However, according to my analysis, it might have something to do with the Sacred Hall of Samsara. The Sacred Hall of Samsara? Qin Nan was confused. He knew about returning to the Sacred Palace. It was a secret palace located at the periphery of the divine steel of immortals. If one rashly entered it, one would be directly reincarnated. He had avoided this calamity because he was already reincarnated. However, he sensed that the Sacred Hall of Samsara was powerful, but it wasn't that terrifying. After all, it belonged to the immortal godly steel. It was more like a forbidding formation in an enormous world. Besides, it was only on the outskirts. It wasn't even the strongest forbidding formation. The Sacred Hall of Samsara is the hall on the outskirts, right? It's a little strange, but I wasn't interested in learning about it, Wu Di said after some thought. I still don't know what the Sacred Hall of Samsara is. Fang Ruyu was a little embarrassed. There were too many things that he didn't know. It felt like he had never followed his master before. This Samsara temple is not simple. Back then, Ancestor Yukong once said that although he and Old Man's Wuxian jointly controlled the periphery of the immortal divine steel, they could not interfere with the Samsara temple at all. Ancestor Yukong did not even know the origin of the Samsara temple. He only knew that there was the power of Samsara in the temple, and those who entered would be forcibly reincarnated. Xian continued, however, don't you find it strange? In the past, among the 4 supreme Empyreans, Brother Tian valued Zhou Di the most and liked him the most. In that battle, even if Zhou Di was heavily injured, with Brother Tian's cultivation at that time, he could have secretly saved him. There was no need for him to reincarnate. Nan was alarmed inwardly and said, Old Ji, your meaning is that Zhou Di deliberately reincarnated? Did you discuss this with Brother Tian in advance? Xian shook her head and said, Brother Tian didn't give me an answer to that. It's only my guess. Besides, I think this matter has something to do with the war god. War god? Some people were filled with doubt. Why? Even though the war god was extraordinarily talented, he was only in the master realm. He was still 2 cultivation levels away from the Heaven Highness realm. How could he possibly be involved in such a huge matter? That's right. You all know about the war god's talent. Then why didn't he properly cultivate after that battle? He might not be able to achieve the supreme Empyrean realm, but he could at least become a Tao realm Heaven Highness and become the strongest cultivator in the primary upper realm. Even though the war god was severely injured after the battle and the factions in the primary upper realm crumbled, many experts had set their eyes on him, but Brother Tian and I could still help him secretly, Ji said. Xian explained calmly. Qin Nan's frown grew tighter. After Ji Xian said this, he also felt that this matter was becoming more and more fishy. Why didn't the war god choose to have a breakthrough? Because why did he keep looking for him in this world? Because why did he leave everything he had to the war god? Because Qin Nan also thought of something else. Because given the war god's outstanding talents, he could have waited until the war god grew stronger to claim the Haolong heavenly seal instead of waiting until now. That being said, no matter what Brother Tian did in the dark, or what Zhou Di and the divine god of battle were planning, I'm sure they never thought of harming you or setting you up, Ji Xian said sternly. I'm well aware of that. Qin Nan nodded his head. For him, the greatest fortunate encounter in his life was still the divine battle realm. It did not matter what the war god's motive was, it was the same for him. We'll have a good chat with Brother Tian when we meet him. Qin Nan stopped thinking about it. His eyes sharpened. Old Ji, you and Brother Tian have been hiding for more than 10,000 years, and now you've decided to expose yourself. I believe something is going to happen in the Blue Dome, right? There are some things that you should know, right? For example, what are the artifacts like the Dongwang Taishu chains up to? What's in the upper profound realm of the Blue Dome? Some people's expressions turned serious as they held their breaths in concentration. These two questions were related to the future situation. Of course I know. Otherwise, I would have wasted my 10,000 years. Ji Xian said proudly. The Dongwang Taishu chains and the other artifacts are plotting something bigger than we thought. Although they say they want to regain their freedom, that's just a superficial purpose. Wonderful Book House. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.